What is up, YouTube? We're back. This is the Chords v Plugs podcast, episode 26. I believe it's episode 26.
It's definitely episode 26. You said, I said, we all Assad it would happen.
And it only took 3.5 weeks.
36 days to be exact. Where those $2,000 checks at? Those promised checks.
Right? He got a lot of missiles to be sending out, but I'm over here waiting on my $2,000. You got money for missiles, but ain't got money to pay me. What up, Matty Growl?
Yeah, it makes that those arms deals, those Raytheon arms deals, all the more interesting.
Oh, of course.
Because those missiles have to be restocked. We're not just going to have 3 empty slots on the shelf or however many there are, you know?
Yeah. Gotta restock. Gotta re-up. I need that heat.
But it's good being plugged, isn't it? We've been saying it for a while now that woke is dead. Not only that though, but you have to be plugged, and there's the benefits are profound. But I mean, should we be patting ourselves on the back for knowing about the Syria bombing before the vice puppet in chief?
I mean, man, it is good to be plugged. Anybody that's been paying attention knows that we've been calling shit weeks ahead of the schedule every single time. Like, oh, what do you think's going to happen? Oh, I think this is going to happen. 2 weeks later, guess what happens?
This is one of those things that was like borderline conspiracy theory for, if you mention this to some of his voters, because this is something that was talked about going into the election, that he's going to bomb Syria. He really wants Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's no.
It's like, these brown kids are okay. Those brown kids, not okay.
So yeah, I wonder how everybody feels knowing that big business is back.
Yeah. Are you happy? Business as usual? Are you happy with the return to normalcy? Because that's what everybody wanted, right? Just to get back to normal.
Yeah, well, gas prices are almost normal.
Right. All it's going to take is a little bit of hostility with the Middle East, and now that we're not producing oil anymore, prices are going to go up even higher. Shut down the pipeline, gas prices go up, start shooting little brown kids in fucking the Middle East. Gas prices go right back up to where they should have been before Orange Man got involved. They just hit a 4-year speed bump.
So not only did Kamala know nothing about these bombings, you said that Biden called Putin, which is hilarious.
Yeah, Biden called Putin before it happened, right before it happened.
And convert. I thought Russia bad.
Russia is bad. To them, Russia bad. So they were just calling Russia, being like, hey, we're going to blow some shit up. We're not aiming at you. But just letting you know, we are going to blow some shit up.
Well, I saw some reports out of D.C. earlier today that Biden turned down a meeting with House Democrats today over the Syria bombing. And we later discovered, getting ready to do this podcast, because we've been bringing you guys the press briefings, that lo and behold, there's no press briefings today. No hard briefings the day after a bombing. I guess it's like Victory Monday for football teams.
Right. The one time when there's actually something to circle back to. Let's circle back to this whole gas prices and Middle Eastern drone strikes.
circle back to a tweet that we're going to bring you guys shortly
Mhm.
from tweets of Jen Psaki's past. It's easy getting her.
Oh yeah,
She doesn't make it hard at all. And Biden isn't doing her any favors. Yeah.
Circling home back. Yeah, it's wild, man. When I saw that yesterday, I was like, "Oh, well, they're about 20 days later than I expected, but
Right
yeah,
on time."
Sharon's here. She says, "Hey guys, they had a field trip to Texas." Yeah, because that's exactly who people in Texas want to see, right? Joe Biden.
Got him an opportunity to sniff some kids at canning factories.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll get Joe out of bed.
Handing out water. Their hands are full, so they can't swat off his old slow advances. Hey, Honey Badger, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you guys stopping in.
This PPE stuff is great. People let me touch them much more if I'm wearing gloves.
Yeah, man, there's so much shit going on over the last couple of days.
An observation that I made since our last podcast is the way things are going in general with all this censorship and the way that their YouTube's trying to hit us. It seems to me that voter is the third hard R.
Yeah, speaking of hard R, did you see Joe Biden dropped one of those yesterday?
I did not.
Yeah, true story. Dropped it yesterday. It might have been fumbling words and mixing words together, but he definitely did it.
That's great. Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah, maybe I'll pull that one up in a little bit here.
Yeah, we should definitely try to pull that one up.
I don't know if I could put it out. I don't know if I could even show it. Well, yeah, so they canceled the press briefing today because obviously it's going to be hard to answer questions about blowing people up without congressional approval again.
Let alone without the knowledge of the supposed most powerful woman on the planet, right?
Yeah.
Weren't they chalking just building up, gassing up how powerful she was going to be and how they're making room for her to step into new roles as a vice president. She's going to be the most powerful vice president ever, I believe I've seen.
How you like her? Everybody gassing her up and having her return fucking head of state phone calls, and then the next week they're blowing people up and she doesn't even know about it.
She's over there talking on the toy phone, man. Her phone's not even plugged in.
Right.
She's talking to fucking bots.
Hey, Joe, we did it. Creepy ass old lady. She's like, I know how to blow. Ask Willie. What else happened, man? What else is new? I know you and I have been fucking around with the Call of Duty, some new zombies. It's been pretty fun.
Just massacring. Had a good day earlier. Messing around. Starting to figure it out.
Yeah. Did you hear the news that there was unconfirmed reports of this happening, but then yesterday China came out and apologized for giving Biden's diplomats in China the anal swabs. So they came out and apologized and said it was a mistake and it won't happen again.
Well, at least China apologizes.
I'm thinking to myself, have I just been missing China's sense of humor this whole time? Are they really trolly?
I hope that's all it is, innocent trolling. They seem to definitely like gathering DNA these days. So it's the first thing that I fucking thought. I was like, oh shit, they really have your DNA.
Yeah, is that an allegory for having the Americans bend over now?
I would say so.
I would
It's a
also.
fine one. It's
Yeah,
a fine one. But like, I think it says a lot that these diplomats are representing the president would even bend over and go for this. It
exactly.
does say an awful lot.
I wonder if they called back home and were like, this is what they want us to do. And they're like, all right, we just talked to the big guy. He said do it.
Or this is just the type of shit that happens in Biden's White House. And like I said, at
Yeah,
least China apologized. They don't get
right.
an apology back home.
I think the apology was just because America wouldn't confirm it. So they went out of their way to confirm it.
yeah. We
You know
wiped your
what I
butts
mean?
over here.
Like I was completely missing their troll the whole time that they did have a sense of humor. Or they do have a sense of humor. It's like I'm starting to kind of like this Xi guy. But yeah, other than that, that was about it as far as shit popping up. Besides what you just told me right before this podcast started, which is kind of huge news.
That's I think that's going to be our last story. So
All right. Okay.
we'll work our way through what we have so far for the week,
Yeah. Stay
and
tuned.
we're going to finish with a banger. All sorts of implications. The real bomb, man. A bomb was dropped on Syria, and some bombs were dropped on the American people today.
Right. The plan was continually bombed.
We'll try to see what it means.
And with that, let's get right into the news.
So little, well, I guess not so light news, but another confirmation or reaffirmation of stuff that we've been pointing out and saying for a while now, that there has not been a single influenza case or case of cold in Britain.
Well, isn't that convenient?
For 7 weeks, not one case. That's,
wow. What did they bring the statisticians over from North Korea?
I just think that the effects of Savior Biden is worldwide, baby. America just isn't back, I guess. So is Jolly Ol.
Yeah, I read a report earlier that said that positive cases are down 40%.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it ties into the story that we brought a couple weeks ago about how not only is cancer diagnosis down, but cancer treatment appointments are down as well.
Yeah.
Just because of the lack of availability of appointments.
Right.
All it
took to cure cancer was a little corona.
So does that mean that we only have more cases of cancer because they're testing more?
Yeah, I mean that if you trust in the science.
But yeah, I mean it's all gone. It's all gone. I wonder if broken bones as well is gone, or is that a part of the crime increase?
Yeah, right. That just goes into the crime statistics, not the hospitalization numbers.
This is a banger. I don't know if you saw this one or not. Former top Cuomo aide, Lindsey Boylan, publicly disclosed that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed her by kissing her on the lips in his Third Avenue office.
Yeah, that came out yesterday. That's the second one in a matter of months that came out. A bunch of people are coming out saying that he'd call him and strong arm him and silent treatment him and do all kinds of shit to get whatever he was trying to get done.
So he's a politician.
Yeah, but too much.
So he was a good politician. Just what he wasn't as far into the club as he thought he was.
Yeah, no, he thought he kicked the door in, but that was just the screen door, you know.
Mm-hmm. He was just standing on the porch still, exactly.
Right. He's like, I'm in. Shit.
Yeah, I wonder how long his brother's going to be on TV.
I wonder how long it's going to take for CNN to cover any of this. Everybody wants to talk about how CNN is news and breaking stories and,
What are they doing tonight?
most trusted news network. Yeah, tonight they have a special on the cult of
The letter.
17. Yeah, because that's that kind of rolls in. I'll pull up a picture in a little bit after we go through the news, but it reminds me of a story that just came out a couple of days ago. They polled voters and asked them what are the biggest issues concerning America or threatening America, and Republicans were like immigration, third trimester abortion, socialism, communism, gun rights, LGBTQ stuff, and then Democrats were like, Trump supporters are number one problem in America. You know what I mean? Neither list had coronavirus on it at all. Neither one. Like, did they not ask him about coronavirus? But yeah, the Democrats said the vast majority said Trump supporters are the number one problem in America.
I believe it. I believe that's what they said.
The narrative is working. I'll pull it up and it's exactly what you think it would be. Exactly. Like Republicans, basically the same old policy things that they've been trying to get done for the last 60 years. Democrats hate whitey, hate straight people, hate.
We're talking about a lot of people that still aren't over high school. You really expect them to get over Orange Man in 36 days?
Yeah, right.
He's going to be haunting their dreams for the rest of their lives until they grow the fuck up.
Let me get this straight. So it wasn't about the president bombing other sovereign nations without congressional approval, because your guy just did it and nobody's talking about it. Turns out one president was orange. That's was it. The difference. You know what I mean?
Yep. The pot called the kettle orange is going to be the new expression that I use.
That's a good one. Sharon, they cornered Jim Acosta at CPAC today. He refused to answer why they aren't talking about Cuomo. Yeah, they definitely did. And the guy didn't give up too. He asked him a good 7, 8, 10 times, and he was like, "Nope, you're lying. Why aren't you covering it?" Fuck Jim Acosta.
Yep.
Piece of shit.
The revolution and the truth will not be televised. But you might be able to catch it on a podcast from time to time. So, hey, stick around.
It will be podcasted.
What do we got next? Bill Gates math. Bill Gates says math is racist, suffers from white supremacy, according to a Bill Gates funded course. This is just like that Coca-Cola course that we brought you last week. This is a war on all fronts. Let me actually click on this picture because it is fucking interesting. The concept, the focus is on getting the air quotes right answer instead of the actual correct answer. So choose problems that have complex competing or multiple answers. Come up with at least 2 answers that might solve this problem. Like, this isn't math. Math was, ways that ancient people found the building blocks of the fucking universe through fucking geometry, calculations. And you're just going to just say, nope, we're just going to throw math on its head and just fucking, make this deeper learning even more fucking obscure.
You want to know how I interpret this? This is like saying 2 + 2 = 5. And then somebody else is like, well, how come only 5? Why not 7 or 10 or 1.2 million?
Yeah.
And then they're like, racist.
Yeah, it is. It is like exactly along those lines. But I mean, just like science and some of the stuff that they're doing with genders and stuff like that, you know, we're talking about numbers. We're talking about some facts here
Yeah. Yeah, like the building blocks of our universe
of everything, exactly, of all of us, and it's
in perpetuity.
I don't see how this is going to work. And if this, it sort of makes me understand a little bit of where they're going with that Common Core bullshit that they're trying to teach kids now.
Yeah.
Because okay, now I get it. Now they're trying to say that there's no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever you feel like it is. Whatever feels right to you.
Yeah. If it could be right, then it's close enough.
I wish I was going to school these days. I could have fucked around and been a mathematician.
Right? This is probably just their scheme to not fail people anymore, to get the numbers up for graduation and make us look smarter compared to the Japanese.
But also hiding any real fucking knowledge and any deep, actual understanding of mathematics.
I mean, that's just the way.
But I mean, the thing that really stuck out to me and bothers me is with mathematics is white supremacy. That the majority of mathematics was advanced in fucking caves in like Afghanistan in the Middle East.
Yeah, the Middle East. That's what I was just about to say. The birthplace of math is
Babylon. Like so Iran is that they're white supremacists now. We're lumping them in with the Trump supporters. I mean, I guess we sort of are, but like we literally are now.
Iran was not. It was not invented in White Manistan.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So Iran invented white supremacy in a cave long ago.
They say that Iran is actually like the Caucasus Mountains. The word Caucasian comes from the Caucasus Mountains, and that is in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
So
we drifted down from the mountains. The question is where were we before we went up the mountains?
Way up north.
I like it. I'm glad we came down and chilled on the south side. I like it down south.
Right. It's warmer down here. Babylonians are now white supremacists. That's great. I like that.
White supremacy, man, it's been a problem, I guess, from the beginning of time. Back when there barely were any white people. It was still a fucking problem, I guess.
They just knew it was going to be a future problem.
We need to come up with a system to count and keep track of shit. So, but really, it's just to keep people in their fucking place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you say.
Yeah. Okay.
I really hope that we can have a peaceful divorce, and they could proceed with their systems, and we could proceed with our systems, and we could meet each other at the table in a couple of years. You know what I mean?
Why don't we do like some foreign exchange citizens where people get a chance to go spend a couple months in the country of the system that they think is the best and see how you fucking like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
you get a not like a vacation 1 or 2 weeks, but you get a nice extended stay,
right?
So you're in the grit,
12 to 18 months. Like who's which country in Europe is the model for the socialism you'd like to introduce? Like, okay, here's a plane ticket.
I want to go to Britain. They don't have guns. Well, try not to get stabbed. Enjoy yourself.
Here's a plane ticket.
Get stabbed on the fucking beach.
Fuck, just walking around town. Get run over by trucks and shit in London.
Where you think gangs are bad over here? You wear the wrong colors near the wrong soccer stadium. Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saying all sorts of slangs and cuss words that you don't even understand.
Never do.
But this is an interesting story here. Biden is urged to require the consent of other top officials before he can order the launch of nuclear weapons. So, if you guys remember correctly, the last couple weeks in Trump's office, top officials were also trying to get the nuclear codes out of Trump's hands as well. So now they don't even want them in their guys' hands, and say what you want about Joe Biden and his capacity to fucking lead the country or even lead himself to the toilet. I think there's the bigger story here is that the president that these top officials are basically trying to make the president a puppet, that it's just a figurehead position. It is a puppet position.
Yeah.
That you shake hands, you answer the fucking phones, but we're fucking in charge here.
Yep. Just the traditions, just like the monarchy. That's what they're trying to turn it into. Or this is the first step in the 25th Amendment that they fucking just amended, right? I think it very well could be that too. That they know he's senile. They know he's getting dementia.
But it's interesting though, because they're not trying to give it to Kamala. Like he has to double check with her before he does anything. They want to have the power over her as well.
Well, I think she was supposed to be one of those three, wasn't she? I think it's supposed to be the vice president, the speaker of the House, and the Senate majority.
But she already has, her own codes and shit like that.
Right.
Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. It sounds like a power grab.
It is. Like, none of it makes sense.
I mean,
unless
conspiracy theorists talking is maybe they have information that something's going to happen, and they don't want nukes being in the game. You know what I mean?
Or the simplest answer to me is
power grab.
But they elected that they have remorse, that they have fucking remorse from their vote and putting this guy into power, and they don't fucking they don't have any faith in them basically.
Well, we'll see how strong their convictions are, because this bombing of Syria today should bring up a debate about military powers not going through Congress.
And when did Joe Biden all of a sudden take control of the military? He's in charge of the military now?
Joe Biden, yeah. Commander.
When did this start?
January 20th.
I thought so too, but I remember when those boys and girls were sleeping on the fucking cold floor of a parking garage. Yeah. Nobody knew who was in charge of the military. Joe Biden wasn't in charge of the military then, was he?
He was sleeping.
That's what I'm getting at here. Is now Joe Biden's in charge of the military.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big story we didn't really talk much about either, was the Senate hearings on the Capitol Hill, the Capitol Hill police, when they said that they called for help and the FBI never told them about anything coming, that they had no information from the FBI whatsoever about any kind of plans.
What were they busy looking into?
Yeah.
Or not looking into?
Exactly. It's not like they were busy, because they didn't do anything. The bombs, you know what I mean? They still haven't found the bombers, but they came out with the story today saying that people want to blow up the Capitol building and everybody in it during the State of the Union.
Yeah. Madonna?
Yeah, exactly.
Johnny Depp, maybe?
Right? Fucking Kathy Griffith?
Could be.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's just an excuse to build the walls and
to keep those troops there for another fucking for perpetuity.
Yep.
How does that make you feel?
3 hours of pushing people around turns into fucking military fucking occupation in our capital for perpetuity, forever. They said today that they got recommendations from that meeting about what to do for the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they're going to hire 1,000 more police officers 1,000. 1,000 more police officers. They're gonna have a rapid response team, like a new unit, and they're gonna make fences and a system of fences and barricades to close off everything.
The public.
Yep.
The public, not rioters, insurrectionists, to close it off to you, me, to your kids, to your grandkids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, maybe they're just trying to keep it quiet and they got info that BLM and Antifa are coming back out soon. Spring's right around the corner.
And that's why they got to get those codes out of Joe Biden's hands, because he's asleep on the watch. And the idea only attacks at night.
Yeah. And he's sleeping at dusk. Like 5:30 p.m.
Right after Wheel of Fortune, give or take.
I'll tell you what, though, shit is not lining up like it's going to be a fucking fun summer after the dark winter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Shit is not looking pretty right now.
It's going to be wild. But I mean, shit, will there be $2,000 or $1,600 checks, $1,400 checks by the summer?
Well, they said that they're with shooting down this 15 an hour now, that the COVID should be signed. The whatever Save America plan, the Rescue America plan.
Rescuing who?
Rescuing the teachers, the landlords, the
1.9,
the airports.
Yeah, the airports definitely. But $1.9 trillion in that deal, 9% go to the American people.
Yep, just like the last one.
And we got bombs. We got bombs to drop overseas, though.
Yep, and new holes in the arsenal to refill.
I wonder how much the fuel to drop those bombs and the price of those bombs, how many $1,400 checks that came out to be.
Right, and how much the drones cost to fucking carry them over there, because I'm sure the drones are in the hundreds of millions by themselves. You know what I mean? How much do you think one of those fucking jet drones cost these days?
And the new ones, the top of the line new.
A pretty penny, I assure you.
Yeah, they give a community their $1,400 checks.
Yep. The $1,400 check. Oh, excuse me, the $2,000 check that you'll have as soon as Joe Biden takes office.
And that's going to have to last. Don't spend it all in one place, kid, because that's going to have to last you till we tell you can go back to work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's been, 36 days? That's 5 weeks? So 25 business days it took for Joe Biden to bomb another country without congressional approval.
Without anybody's approval other than Vladimir Putin's, it seems.
Yeah. Apparently, Vladimir's the only one that got a phone call. Posobiec got a phone call, but not from Biden. Jack Posobiec knew that Syria was bombed before Kamala Harris did. If that tells you anything about being plugged.
I wonder where she was. Was she golfing or was she dropping off cookies again?
Yeah, she was at the Chuck store.
Getting her Peggy Hill shoes.
Right, smoking
size
joints, buying
16s.
Pac albums. Fuck out of here. What is this that you have on the screen right now?
The new normal.
Jesus. Kids actually do this? Like, well, I guess they're high school kids. They're older, huh? It might even be college with that fucking expensive keyboard in the background.
Or just
whatever that is.
Rich suburban school. But yeah, this is fucking hilarious. Do you have to be in one of these to view the show? Is this just because they're playing the instrument and blowing so much? It's just so many fucking questions here.
So many questions. Like, does it change the sound of the symphony? Or the orchestra or the jazz band or whatever the fuck this is? I see a flute up there. What about
How'd
the
you fit it?
tuba player?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say it. You couldn't fit a cello in there either.
Right? What about the drummer?
Yeah, see?
See?
Drums are a thing of the past, man. COVID killed drums.
Drums are white supremacists now. Drums are racist. Heard it here first. All drummers are racist because they won't go in the bubble. They're just gonna make like arm sleeves made out of the same material you just stick your arms out the sides of.
like a lab,
Mm-hmm.
chemical lab. It's
Real
basically
life, wacky waving, arm flailing, inflatable tube men. I'm so excited for the future. We thought there'd be flying cars. Nope.
Not for you and me. Yeah. You can't get to Mars or flying cars when we're working on the important shit, like taking the Mister off the Mr. Potato Head box. And I think there's a dictator joke in there somewhere.
Yeah. Definitely dictator. They said, I guess they backtracked on it and said that they're still going to be making Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head as a married couple, but the new potato heads are just going to be called Potato Head.
Important business.
Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember, not like it was before my time. I remember seeing them, but I never had them. But I'm old enough to remember the Mr. Potato Heads that it was just the stuff you stuck into a real potato. Like you had to supply your own potato.
Potatoes sold separately.
Yeah.
Potatoes are also white supremacy.
I never realized Mr. Potato Head came with a dick. Fucking big deal here. He identifies as a Mister, dude. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Who are you to decide what Mr. Potato Head's gender is?
I say, well, how do they know that he even identifies as a fucking potato?
Mm-hmm.
Who gives them the right to even call him a potato head? Where do we draw the fucking lines here? People are upset for a fucking imaginary potato.
Yeah, cancel culture has no bounds. Zero.
Here we have the U.S. Capitol Police says there are militia groups that plan to blow up the Capitol. These are never going to stop, folks. That forever war in Washington, D.C. that we mentioned, This is what it looks like. There's always going to be a plot to destroy the Capitol. This is just
rumors and innuendo of a threat.
Yeah, we're just living life on the TNT network.
It's the hidden menace.
TNT knows drama.
That's silent intrigue. Dun dun. Yeah, that's crazy. It's absolutely out of control that nobody's doing anything about this. It's all just a show. It's all a fucking show. Well, the city of Washington it's a reality series. It's all about optics and presentations and egos, and there's probably two handfuls of people that are actually there to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Some are there to be celebrities. Some are there to set themselves up for the fucking private sector to make fucking tons of money. Some are there to, further their political aspirations, but very, very few are there to, legislate and do what's right for the American people. And it's fucking sickening.
Just like their political parties. I mean, they claim to only have 4-year plans, 2-year plans,
No.
but there's definitely a bigger picture.
The
And
real telling thing now is that any legislation, any big piece of legislation, it comes down from the party leadership. Like the people that sign it and co-sign it, that's all they do is sign it and co-sign it. It comes down from the top. And even like these big Senate hearings and all this other stuff, they give them a script and they have to stick to it. You know what I mean? Or else they get
Mhm.
on the line and you hear them fucking 8 hours later when no one's listening anymore, None of it. It's all an act. That's the big part, is that it comes down from the top, and that none of the people, none of the actual legislators actually put forward their own personal legislation. They can't even amend legislation that gets docketed. You know what I mean? Can't even amend it anymore. That tells you that it's all a play. That the plan is they're incompetent, but the plan is very long. We should be worried about China because their timetable is not the same as ours. You know what I mean? They have the time. Their fucking history goes back millennia.
so here we have our friend Jen
Good
with a
old
tweet.
that girl.
Yep, a tweet from April 6th, 2017. And she's asking, what is the legal authority for strikes? Referring to airstriking Syria, dropping bombs in Syria. And she says, Assad is a brutal dictator, but Syria is a sovereign country.
That's a very interesting question, Jen Psaki.
It's very interesting that she was not taking questions today.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's going to be a long weekend, but I can guarantee you on Monday some ballsy reporter will ask it. They should. Cernovich right there might as well show up in the fucking press pool.
He's running for governor, I think, of California.
Yeah, they said if they do recall Newsom, that he'll run. It's an interesting idea.
Turn California red.
Just turn it fucking human again. You know what I mean?
if they're all going to abandon ship, fuck it.
Yeah, take over, fumigate.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather see California secede. Go to Utopia. It's right there. It's a couple-hour drive. It's everything you've ever wanted.
Mail-in ballots and voting machines, both banned in France.
That seems to be a recurring theme ever since January. Well, since November, really.
Yeah.
It's ironic.
Why? Yeah, it is. It is. It's ironic that some people or some networks and people in power would frown upon you and try to limit your ability to talk about such things.
Yeah, I wonder what other people take from all of these other countries and these other sovereign nations changing their rules since Myanmar happened here.
Yeah. They don't. It seems like a lot of people are fortifying their own election so that they don't get Myanmar'd.
Yeah, a lot of fortifying going on. Fortifying seems to be the trend of the day.
Yeah, it's the rigging of our day.
Like on a ship, right?
Exactly. And I think here we're going to get into. Oh, it didn't pop up. It didn't pop up in here, but we have
Breaking news hot off the
Yeah.
presses.
Yeah, a biggie. It's a fucking biggie. Let me refresh the page. There's before we get into that one though, there's one more too. On the Myanmar situation that a judge rules Maricopa County must provide 2.1 million ballots from the 2020 election to the Arizona Senate for audit under subpoenas.
So, anybody that's following along at home, that's a court-ordered audit of the actual paper ballots, which is I'm super interested to see the outcome of that. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want YouTube to hear me talk about it, but I'm really interested in what happens. Obviously, I have my opinions. I've made my opinions quite clear over the 24 or so odd episodes that haven't been deleted yet that are still available.
The Arizona legislature clearly has the power to investigate and examine election reform matters. Accordingly, the senators have the power to subpoena material as part of an inquiry into election reform measures. It is clear the judge understands this is about getting answers to the questions voters have and not some effort to overturn any election results. Hopefully, with a proper, independent, and detailed audit, we will start to restore voter confidence in election integrity.
Yeah, I wonder what court they're in. Are they in state court or is it federal court?
Seems like this is going to be all state. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's I applaud that judge. There's a lot of balls being shown there. You know, that whole transparency thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm also leery and a little bit skeptical just because of how late in the game it is. You know, election month was 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So who knows what the fuck's been fucked with by now, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
So
a lot of
there's been plenty of time to diddle with some shit.
Exactly. Forensic audit it'll be interesting though to see exactly what they look for and exactly what they find because they'll spell it out in the audit, you know?
Yeah.
It'll all be spelled out black and white. This is exactly what we looked for. This is a nonpartisan outside, third party entity conducting the audit. Should be interesting.
I can't wait to see the no votes.
I wonder how long it's going to take. We'll probably find out about it right after the midterms.
Find out just how bad Arizona got Myanmar'd.
Yeah. But just if, I don't even want to say it, dominoes, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Justice is just if.
Just if. The Department of What If.
Yep.
John Durham to resign from the U.S. Attorney's Office effective at midnight on February 28th. Durham was appointed as special counsel in October. Now, that's the 28th, so 2 days at midnight. So he has 2 days to finish up anything he's doing. But since he's a special counsel, yeah, man, I'm trying to think of a way that this doesn't spell fucking the
absolute
kibosh.
Right? It smells like the kibosh to me, man. It smells like swamp ass.
Yeah, like the swampy swamp. Right back to business as usual. Because he's resigning too. He's not retiring. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. He just didn't want to end up on a list.
I think they already told him, like, you're resigning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or
yeah.
You know, we all know.
We don't want to fire you because it's going to make us look real bad. So you're going to resign.
Or else.
We will fire you. Yeah, see, It's interesting because it's not today. You know what I mean? The news came out today
Mm-hmm.
from justice.gov too, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's real. That's legit.
Yeah, that's as real as it gets. Yeah. So him having a couple of days to wrap things up. I wonder if it closes the special counsel's office or not with him resigning. You know what I mean? You'd think that they'd actually have to close the special counsel's case, and now that they're in charge of who they put in the special counsel position, it should wrap it up pretty quick from here on out.
Yeah,
It's fucked up though, because why would he resign? Why wouldn't he make them fire him? Why wouldn't he force the bad optics if, like Mueller did? Why wouldn't he do exactly what Mueller did if he had something on him? Unless it all just turned up fucking nuts.
a lot of questions. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when his book comes out.
Yeah, exactly. If they even allow him to because of state secrets and all.
Yeah, we'll find out if he was a fortifier
A CNN correspondent.
or they just got to him late in the game. He started getting
Yeah, they just
when he was scrolling through his phone, he was seeing a lot of things about cars blowing up, and it started getting to him.
Right? No, I think they just showed up in his office and he's like, "All right, last man standing. Your turn." You know what I mean? Special counsel, Trump, Biden, everything,
Yep.
everything, anything that you could have pulled up. There was a window. And
Yeah.
when it didn't happen before the election is when I started down the path of this is going nowhere.
Yeah. It's sure. The time is coming past for any sort of actual justice or action because anybody that's in power now doesn't want to see it, doesn't want to hear about it.
No, we got fucking pandemics and brown kids to bomb. We got important shit going on now. We're going to be at war with Syria in the next couple of weeks. I don't even think Assad's in Syria, is he? Isn't he still hiding in fucking Russia? Last I heard, he was giving.
There's nobody in Syria, but just younger generations of brown people for us to piss off and make enemies of.
Yep. I haven't really looked into what they bombed. They said it was a couple of facilities, but I wonder what if there was.
I've heard that before.
Or and shit like that,
Yeah, I've heard that out of Biden's administrations before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. There's quite a few nuggets that haven't happened yet. We're still ahead of the game as far as what's to come here.
Well, I mean, expect the worst, prepare for the worst, but at the same time, have a smile on your face, stay positive, and act like none of this shit's going on. It's good for yourself. It's good for everybody's psyche around you, and it's all you can do is be prepared for the gloom and doom. See it happening. Recognize the signs, the patterns, the trends of these people in power and their power grabs, their land grabs, and their various ill activities. And it's just, after a while, it's just the same shit over and over again. And you just gotta try to be a good person in the swamp that we're fucking living in.
On that last press release, What did it say? What was the exact wording of the Durham release?
Let me bring it up. I got it on my phone. Actually, I got it right here on the other tab. John Durham to resign from the U.S. Attorney's Office effective at midnight on February 28th.
Let's see. What if he's just resigning from his spot at the U.S. Attorney because he is the special counsel still? You know what I mean? He's this he is the holder of the special counsel office right now. So he's just resigning his job as a United States attorney. Is there in that?
I'll screen share it. I got it up right now.
Yeah, in the article, does it mention the special counsel's office at all? Or just the state's attorney's office?
Screen tab. All right, it's there. You can share it. So everybody at home can see what we're looking at. Sorry, everybody, but we're reading this ourselves because this just broke as we were in our pre-show. We were just starting up the podcast when this broke. After serving as the United States Attorney for the District of Connecticut for more than 3 years and as a federal prosecutor in Connecticut for more than 38 years, John H. Durham today announced his resignation from the U.S. Attorney's Office effective at midnight. Prior to his appointment as an interim U.S. Attorney, First Assistant U.S. Attorney Leonard C. Boyle will serve as acting U.S. Attorney upon Mr. Durham's departure. Yeah, that's all it's saying so far. It doesn't say anything about the special counsel.
Scroll down a little bit. Yeah, it looks like he just quit his U.S. Attorney's Office job. It doesn't say anything at all about the special counsel job. And that's the the special counsel is the one that is the big deal. The U.S. Attorney was what he was acting as until he became the special counsel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Are we going to finally see something come of that report? Is he going to be testifying himself? I don't know. It sounds awfully hopey and dreamy at this point.
It does.
Sounds like somebody trying to sell me a boat or about maybe an invisible man that's living in space judging me.
Yeah. Yeah. So until I see that he quit as the special counsel, I'm gonna hold out a little bit of hope. That works. I found a way. See, I found a way to keep it.
You found your spin?
On the way that I could spin it to myself.
No, yeah, there's a little glimmer of hope there. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not reaching.
You
know. But
either there's not enough information out yet, or there is a glimmer.
Nah, personally, I believe there's plenty of information. It's just the people that are supposed to do something about this. You know, the watch, they just don't give a fuck.
There's definitely that information. I just mean information out about what's going on with him personally right now. Like the reporting is not complete enough and he did quit the special counsel's office as well, or he didn't, and there's still happenings happening.
If only there was this place that you could like pass information along and get it out there anonymously for the world to see.
Yeah, I remember a place like that.
And since old boy Assange has been put away, man, they certainly seem to have cut the head off of all this. It's either they took all of his people off the playing field, or there's literally no faith in WikiLeaks with him being gone, you know.
Yeah.
But they've it's like, where is it all? You know, where did the leaks go? Are there no good people anymore? Everybody's just going along for the ride, just like possibly Mr. Durham here.
Yeah. Like, yeah, let's just spin this into a 3-year appointment. Does nothing.
The letters got to be going nuts. Message boards across the internet have to be going wild right now over this.
Yeah. I'm sure leftists are all saying, "See, I told you, you kept saying Durham." And letter is saying,
Trust the plan.
"You're right. Trust the plan." Exactly. Exactly. So how long until we go to Turkey? How long until we start sending those RC planes over to Turkey?
At this rate, not very long. I mean, it took him 36 days to to break the ice, if you will. I'm sure he's not going to wait another 36 days. I say I give it 15 before the next conflict, before Biden's reaching out and touching somebody, if you will.
I wonder if yeah. It's crazy. It's funny now that I think about it. Maybe Biden didn't lie during the campaign and he wasn't against pipelines after all. He was just against American pipelines.
Yes, just American oil, just American energy independence. That's all he's against.
Because
He loves.
sure in the fuck is bombing Syria right now over some oil pipelines.
Damn right. That Turkey Qatar pipeline is going to happen. Maybe maybe some of our unionists can go over there and get a job if they're not too keen on learning to code.
Yeah. They should know how to build pipelines.
Yeah, there's pipelines are being built, just not over here.
Mm-hmm. Halliburton and Raytheon and fucking Blackwater are all hiring. Here's a piece of news that you might not have heard yet. Did on the heels of Clarence Thomas dissenting to the Supreme Court ruling on the mute issue the other day, Amazon Prime has stopped streaming Clarence Thomas documentary during Black History Month.
Jesus.
The dissent was good too. I know on our last podcast I was informed by the chat of what happened with that court case because I wasn't following it closely, but I caught up, and it was very interesting. Clarence Thomas went gangster on him.
We need Wesson here, man. We need word from the black delegation on this because
Right.
I'm wondering why Amazon is making moves for the black delegation. Is Bezos speaks for blacks now? Speaks for all of blacks that he can cancel a man on Black History Month.
That's probably why Bezos stepped down, because whoever he put in charge is gonna get fucking rocked in the next 6 months. He's gonna take the fall for a couple of things, I think, pretty quickly.
Bezos is focused on planet Amazon, where he can make the slave laws.
Yeah, right. Man, I can't wait for the circle back.
No, absolutely. Do we have one? Do we have one to bring up?
No, I'm saying I can't wait for Monday to hear the
Oh
question.
yeah, for that one for sure. But we haven't had one since Monday.
Oh yeah. There's a couple. There's a couple to watch. And some of them are good too. She got hit with some questions yesterday that made her very uncomfortable.
I like seeing her squirm.
Yeah, and she's funny. She starts throwing her hands and shit. Did you see the story about this teacher's aide that was beaten up
Yeah,
yesterday
yeah,
in Zoom class?
yeah. It's great.
The latest news on this asshole is he's a Maryland teachers union member and he cannot be fired due to
Yeah,
union rules and has been put on temporary administrative leave.
they got that from the Catholic Church, didn't they?
Not only should he be fired, he
Pedos
should
love
be
that rule.
arrested.
Should be wary of any fucking company that installs the pedo protection rules.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I heard that today and I was shocked and dismayed.
I know that just from my own high school here in the city
I
is
heard,
is union,
I read in the
and
story it
I
said
know of a few teachers that have gotten that exact same thing, and it's just they're still there. They're still teaching now.
that's absolutely out of control. I read in the story, and when I got to the part that said, while the teacher cannot be fired due to union rules, I
Yeah,
stopped and I said,
that's
literally
real.
out loud, what? He cannot be
Shit.
fired. He can be arrested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How come the
If
police are knocking on his fucking door right now?
if he was in California and the class was over 14, he wouldn't even have to register as a sex offender.
Yeah, right.
Does he? Does he even have to register now?
I
Or is
wonder
that?
if polygamy is legal in California, you could probably marry a couple of them.
Yeah, his excuse was he thought he was logged off. It's fucking great. You're literally fresh off a class of teaching with some kids, and the first thing you got to do is pull your pants down and rub one out. That's the first thing on your mind.
Disgusting.
So, what the fuck was on your mind the last 10 minutes of that class?
It's insane how many fucking assholes have been caught beaten off immediately after like leaving work.
Yeah,
Zooms,
I mean,
leaving
it's
school Zooms, leaving class Zooms,
there's
banging in the background of fucking your little kid in fucking third grade, you know?
there's a small benefit to having all these fucking cameras on, but I mean, that's the point of having all these cameras and these listening devices, these Alexas and shit in your home, so that you can be busted out for shit like this. I mean, it is gonna catch some people that it's supposed to catch sometimes, but I mean, fuck, beware the cameras and listening devices in your fucking homes.
Yeah, ain't that the fucking truth? What's your take on Oreo? Did you hear about the Oreo thing today? Yesterday?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. What is it?
So yesterday, Oreo Cookie tweeted out, "Trans people exist."
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Right? Like, did I miss the memo where people were talking about them being science fiction? I guess.
Myths like LeBron James and sweatshops in China,
Right?
possibly Myanmar.
I've seen way too many trans people in my lifetime to think that they're a myth. Way more in the last 5 to 10 years. Way more.
Yeah, Nabisco's they're the epitome of America, shutting down all their factories and shipping them all to Mexico.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's funny. I know it's circling on back to what we were talking about with Durham, but the FBI has been there've been FBI documents still being released slowly, and one that came out a couple of days ago FBI electronic communication was that they were investigating Jeff Sessions. They were investigating his views of Russia during the campaign, and he became the attorney general.
His views of Russia.
Yeah, they were investigating Senator Jeff Sessions' views of Russia during the campaign. So basically, they were spying on a senator that was potentially going to be the attorney general.
Is anybody surprised? I'm not surprised. Does anybody think that they're not being spied on?
Right? You remember what I said in the last podcast, though? I said the only difference between the government and a mafia is paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Paperwork. This is where they get caught.
For sure.
And the Dems that are pushing to take Biden's nuclear capabilities, it seems as though it's a group of about 36 of them.
I wonder if that's why, just like mafias, governments are flawed and tend to fail because of the paperwork and the receipts. And somewhere along the line, people are going to find out that shit just don't add up one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's an interesting analogy there.
Wild. I mean, it's all there. It's all there if you're plugged. You're in on it. Sharon's here. She assumes it. She says,
Yeah.
"Yeah, everybody should assume that the government's fucking spying on you at this point. Everybody
At all times. I
And
mean, those little app permissions on your phone, whether it's Facebook or Twitter listening to you, they're not
right,
keeping that information for themselves.
right. And when we say the government's spying on you, we're not saying that like there's a person sitting in a van out on your street corner, fucking listening to your phone calls. They database everything. Like they just collect everything, raw data capture, and then if they need to, they look at it. That's
Yeah, or just you hit a hot term that they don't like.
exactly. It gets flagged. Algorithms, YouTube. That's what people don't understand. It's not the same as it used to be as far as collection and spying and
Yeah, they don't need a man or two in a van outside your phone.
no,
There's
they got it all
what
already.
one computer for a couple thousand phones that are always listening,
Mm-hmm.
always recording everything that's touched, everything that's searched, clicked,
And
talked
then
about.
all they have to do is make you give them your phone and unlock it, and then it's all there. They already know
Mhm.
it's there. They just have to have you give it to them. Yeah,
Terms and conditions, frightening.
absolutely frightening. I'm gonna look for the poll that I was telling you about because it's a good one. It's worth looking at.
I look forward to a free internet where we as consumers are paid for our data.
One day we will all be paid.
Sadly, I'll never be able to have my million man march for the internet on DC. We'll have to walk around it for 7 years, walk around the walls for 7 years.
Walk around the walls of Washington.
Yep, for 7 years. The land of giants.
San Francisco, New York. Trying to remember where I saw that thing at because it was great. Should be more prepared than this. I'm sorry, podcast. did I see it? Two cop killers have been paroled in Chicago today. In case anybody was wondering what happens to cop killers these days.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up a local story because I completely forgot to write this down on my board. So there is a new he's not a Chicago politician. He's from downstate, or I think he's trying to be a politician. I lost the story on that one too. But this guy is proposing banning Grand Theft Auto
Yeah.
and attributing it to the Grand Theft Auto crime rate in Chicago.
Yeah, I did see that. And what a fucking moron that guy is, huh? Like, science? Anybody? Anybody? Science?
He's like 20 years late on the fucking video games are the devil fucking argument. But just any excuse, any fucking way to point some fingers and to blame it on suburban white kids.
Yeah. All right, I found it. Funny enough, it's Ben Shapiro. All right. I not a big fan of Ben Shapiro, but this tweet stood out to me.
James O'Keefe had a speech at CPAC.
Yeah, James O'Keefe and Trump Jr. Tomorrow, I think Pompeo and Matt Gaetz talk today too. Tomorrow, I think it's Pompeo, and Sunday is Trump. Bongino talked today. He had a pretty good speech. He's a good speaker. I like Bongino. Can you see the graph, Red?
Yeah.
So the GOP most concerned about police support and illegal immigration. The question is, how concerned are you, if at all, that the following are a problem for the country? Asked of Republicans and lean voters. So leaning Republican, center right, they asked. Illegal immigration was number one.
All right, so I think the way that it's worded, it seems like these questions, like the answers were all listed. It says, are you concerned? Basically, yes, very much concerned, a little concerned, not, little bit not concerned. You know what I'm saying? A little bit indifferent. So yeah, it's telling. It's definitely telling.
But it looks like they just put all of these answers in one answer pool and then let them choose. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Democrat side, I'll show you in a second, there's not one that matches, period.
But so does it say how many people were asked?
No, that's what I was saying. It doesn't have very much info at all on these
But
shots. I could find it though.
the information doesn't really shock me. I mean, if you ask a person, a GOP supporter, what worries them and what concerns you, what's a problem for the country, I would absolutely expect to hear illegal immigration, lack of support for the police, high taxes, liberal bias in media, general moral decline of the country, socialism, idea violence,
Yep.
China, legal abortion in the third trimester, Myanmar, tech company censorship, discrimination against Christians. I would expect to hear all of that. And I mean, it's pretty base. There's nothing really fucking scary there. It doesn't say blacks or, fucking making sure people understand that trannies are a myth or anything like that.
Yep. But you do notice conspicuously that there's no coronavirus. None of these answers say anything about the COV.
It probably wasn't an available answer. But who knows? It's funny though. It is funny because it's gone. It's all gone now.
Democrats, how concerned are you, if at all, that the following are a problem for the country?
It's all different answers.
Not just different, but completely different. Donald Trump's supporters, number one problem to the
82% of Democrats thought that was the number one problem.
extremely concerned or very concerned.
That's pretty frightening.
57% of Democrats polled said that Donald Trump supporters are the number one problem in our country.
And these are the people that are afraid of this so-called virus, that are afraid to leave their house. I guess maybe they're actually just afraid of seeing these Donald Trump supporters that are so frightening and horrifying. Maybe that's the real culprit and reason of this fucking lockdown. All these scared little sheltered people are blindly supporting it because they're safe at home.
Yeah, and all they really have to do is look in the mirror to see what they're really afraid of. Number 2, white nationalism. Number 3, systemic racism, gun violence, Americans lacking health coverage, domestic terrorism, police brutality, discrimination against LGBTQ Americans, sexism, voter suppression.
I don't know if you could say that. She probably shouldn't have said that.
No, you could say that. It's a Democrat concern. Student debt and capitalism.
Whoa. I didn't even notice that last one on there. Now that's upsetting. 40% of Democrats asked said capitalism is a threat to the country. That's a big problem. Well, that's a big problem. That's bigger than 80% of them being afraid of fucking whites and Trump supporters and probably lumping them all into the same box.
Yeah. How many buzzwords do you see in that list there?
Yeah, the whole list.
Basically, right?
It's just the trending section.
I mean, I could understand gun violence. You know what I mean? I could understand Americans lacking health coverage. I could even understand police brutality. But those three are not 1, 2, and 3 on this list. You know what I mean? And those are the ones I could understand, not necessarily think is a huge problem for the country. I don't know. It just kind of shows you that we are living in two worlds. But I see a lot of buzzwords in their list. Let's go look at the GOP list again. Let's see how much buzz.
I think it's much more than just two worlds. You know, a lot of vast majority of people are living in their own little world.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being the master of your own universe, but we all are sharing a part of this reality together, and we all gotta, step a foot together in this fucking reality.
Yeah. Yeah, man, looking at this list, I don't see buzzwords. I see classic positions of a conservative. I mean, besides the ones that have just popped up recently, like the liberal bias in mainstream media being so pronounced, the tech company censorship that just started within the last 2 years. You know what I mean? Obviously, Myanmar.
No, the tech censorship's been happening for more than 2 years. I follow a lot of speakers and You know, a lot of people that do YouTube stuff, and they're not only banned on YouTube a long, long time ago, but also Facebook has been kicking them off repeatedly for years and years and years. So it's definitely, it's just more pronounced, just like the puppetry of our government at big up top in the big tent. It's just more pronounced, and information is just so readily available at this point in time that it's hard to hide shit, especially if you know what you're looking for and the veil's already been lifted. Once you see, you can't unsee. It's just like when you see your first rat in the city. You see them all.
Once you get plugged. That's how it
There's
goes.
no going back. Yep, there is no going back.
All right. What else? What else did we want to do? Did we want to do some executive orders, or did you want to do some Sacky time?
We could do some executive orders. Get caught up on one or two.
Do a couple of those. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So, U.S. service members, threat levels raised in Iraq. Everybody's preparing for retaliation from Biden's airstrikes. Thanks, Uncle Joe. Thanks for keeping the troops safe abroad.
Yeah, the inevitable.
Nobody's going to be getting any sleep tonight overseas. Biden's probably got all our planes and shit gassed up and ready to go.
Yeah, right. Be prepared, boys.
Clap, you idiots.
You stupid idiot.
You're going to war. Clap, you idiots. You're going to get to kill brown people for America.
All right, so this is number 4 in our 53-part series so far.
And counting.
The executive orders and executive memorandums of President Joseph Corn Pop was a bad dude Biden. This one's named Preventing and Combating Discrimination on the Basis of Gender Identity or Sexual Orientation. Every person should be treated with respect and dignity and should be able to live without fear, no matter who they are or who they love. Children should be able to learn without worrying about whether they will be denied access to the restroom, the locker room, or school sports. Adults should be able to earn a living and pursue a vocation knowing that they will not be fired, demoted, or mistreated because of whom they go home to or because how they dress does not conform to sex-based stereotypes. People should be able to access healthcare and secure a roof over their heads without being subject to sex discrimination. All persons should receive equal treatment under the law, no matter their gender identity or sexual orientation. Let's just stop there because isn't gender a protected class? Isn't it one of those things that you cannot discriminate based on already? Isn't that the law?
I thought gender didn't exist anymore. I thought we're all theys and thems now. So this entire executive order is sort of mute up until this point because there's no such thing as females anymore. Right? That's what I thought.
It's hard to keep up. This executive order, it seems to be show, but this is basically the one that allowed trans people to compete in women's sports.
This is the bill, the order when Biden ordered the execution of women's sports and women's scholarships.
Yep. Yeah, so they say that the Supreme Court held that Title VII's prohibition of discrimination because of sex covers discrimination on the basis of gender identity and sexual orientation. So it's already a law. So
next paragraph, discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation manifests differently for different individuals and it often overlaps in other forms of prohibited discrimination, including discrimination on the basis of race or disability. For example, transgender Black Americans face unconscionably high levels of workplace discrimination, homelessness, and violence, including fatal violence. So this is just about stacking your either your minorities or your your disabilities.
The race card and the sexual orientation card in one fell swoop.
Don't tell me you're a transgender Black handicapable partial lesbian.
Yeah, or do, because then your opinion matters.
Because then you got a Yahtzee.
So section 2
Okay.
here, this is what it actually changes.
Hold on, there's another part here though in section 1 to oh no, okay, it's prevent and combat discrimination. I thought it was getting into the military shit, but no, yeah, keep going.
So in section 2 it says enforcing prohibitions on sex discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. The head of each agency shall, as soon as practicable, and in consultation with the Attorney General as appropriate, review all existing orders, regulations, guidance documents, policies, programs, or other agency actions that were promulgated or are administered by the agency under Title VII or any other statute or regulation that prohibits sex discrimination, including any that relate to the agency's own compliance with such statutes or regulations and are or may be inconsistent with the policy set forth in section 1 of this order. So he's basically ordered all of his agency heads to look at all their rules and make sure nothing discriminates against sex or gender identity or sexual orientation. Section B, the head of each agency shall, as soon as practicable, yada, 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 consider whether to revise, suspend, or rescind such agency actions or promulgate new agency actions as necessary to fulfill implement status set forth in section 1. Okay, so then write a report, basically. Section C, the head of each agency shall, as soon as practicable, also consider whether there are additional actions that the agency should take to ensure that it is fully implementing the policies set forth in section 1. If an agency takes an action described in this subsection or subsection B of this section, it shall seek to ensure that it is accounting for and taking appropriate steps to combat overlapping forms of discrimination, such as discrimination on the basis of race or disability. Yeah, so this is just another either executive order. No, yeah, this is the executive order category. So this is an executive order ordering all federal agencies to do a study and report on sexual orientation and gender identity discrimination in the federal government.
So ordering studies. This is the study order.
Exactly. This is the 4th executive order and the 2nd order to study.
Just spending money.
Hotcakes, baby. Hotcakes. This might be interesting. Ethics commitment by executive branch personnel.
Ethics pledge, huh?
Pledge. I recognize that this pledge is a part of a broader ethics in government plan designed to restore and maintain public trust in government, and I commit myself to conduct consistent with that plan. I commit to decision-making on the merits and exclusively in the public interest without regard to private gain or personal benefit.
Yeah, that's a lie.
From Joe Biden's hand. I commit to conduct that upholds the independence of law enforcement and precludes improper interference with investigative and prosecutorial decisions of the Department of Justice. I commit to ethical choices of post-government employment that do not raise the appearance that I have used my government service for private gain, including my using
That do not raise the appearance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Plausible deniability, including by using confidential information acquired and relationships established for the benefit of future clients. Accordingly, as a condition and in consideration of my employment in the United States government in a position invested with the public trust, I commit myself to the following obligations, which I understand are binding on me and are enforceable under law. Lobbyist gift ban. I will not accept gifts from registered lobbyists or lobbying organizations for the duration of my service as an appointee. Revolving door ban. I will not, for a period of 2 years from the date of my appointment, participate in any particular matter involving specific parties that is directly or substantially related to my former employer or former clients, including regulations and contracts. That's different. I never read this one before. That's interesting. If I was a registered under the Lobbying Disclosure Act or the Foreign Agents Registration Act within the 2 year before the date of my appointment, in addition to abiding by the limitations set above, I will not, for a period of 2 years after the date of my appointment, participate in any particular matter on which I lobbied or engaged in registrable activity under FARA, participate in the specific issue area of which that particular matter falls, or seek or accept employment with any executive agency with respect to which I lobbied or engaged in registrable activity under FARA.
But Hunter can. Did Hunter give up those holdings yet?
Not that I know of. Revolving door ban. So he's basically putting a 2 year ban on
Yeah,
any.
just until campaign season.
Yeah, exactly. 2 years until the midterms.
And then he could start profiting off of his dealings publicly.
Sent to enforcement. I acknowledge that the executive order entitled this, issued by the president, which I have read before, signing this document, defines certain of the terms applicable to the foregoing obligations and set forth the methods of enforcing them. I expressly accept the provisions of that executive order. I understand that the term of this pledge are in addition to any statutory or legal restrictions. They didn't say what the enforcement is going to be.
There isn't one.
Here you go. Section 3 waiver. The director of the Office of Management and Budget, who is that Neera Tanden lady that they're saying is not going to get that job now, in consultation with the council to the president, may grant to any current or former appointee a written waiver of any restrictions contained in the pledge signed by such appointee if, and to the extent that, the director of OMB certifies in writing that the literal application of the restriction is inconsistent with the purposes of the restriction. So there's an out clause. The Office of Management and Budget can sign a waiver.
More appearances.
Mm-hmm.
More fucking appearances. That's all it is. These are no rules or laws that he has to fucking abide by. It'll be interesting to see who gets that position, though. That was a good read, because whoever has their eye on that position, or whoever ends up getting that position, is very, very close to him, you know? Somebody that he's going to trust quite a bit, or the party trusts.
Anybody that breaks the term of this pledge gets barred from lobbying for up to 5 years in addition to the time period covered by the pledge.
Ooh, wow.
Right?
Big moves. He made some big moves. So the Executive Order 5 is a bunch of shit. It's nothing.
Garbage. Because he can't even fucking live up to that pledge. This is heavy. Climate is 6. We'll stop at 5 for this one. Let's get to Saki. We don't want to get into the climate just yet.
Yeah, that could be a couple episodes in its own. That'll probably be its own episode right there.
Yeah. That's heavy talks.
Especially after what just happened in Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Whole lot of green problems.
Yeah, and now people getting $10,000 electric bills.
Yeah. They said that they turned the fucking generators off in Texas when shit started to hit the fan.
You know, everybody's crying about getting their student loans forgiven. How about the COVID debt? When are we going to get our COVID bailout? I'm not talking about the fucking 1,400.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's worried about any of that. They're worried about their 1,400 and their student debt.
Yeah, what about the actual debt? What about everybody's actual debt? Not the chosen debt, but the debt that was forced upon us by not being able to fucking act to work.
Yeah.
Like we chose to go to camp for a couple fucking years and sit out of the workforce.
Since 2020, 90% of our fucking money in circulation has been printed. That's crazy. It's absolute craziness. It's unsustainable, man. Absolutely unsustainable.
Yep. And to see a big crash probably in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Unless they start rounding us up.
Sooner than anybody's ready for, that's for sure.
Good thing is I'm well versed in survival strategy and I'd make it out in the woods. I'll be doing just fine.
I'm a smoker, so like me and my girlfriend watch the Naked and Afraids, and I'm like, man, I'd be fucking robbing the cameraman after like
one episode that actually happened. One of the dudes actually snuck into like the camera crew's tents and stole food.
Yeah, I did see that one. That would be me.
I watch a lot of that.
I had a few.
I like that show. It's different. It's hard to tell any of those shows like which ones are real if they fucking give them those aluminum foil fucking blankets at night.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been watching this show called Alone. They've got a couple seasons of that, and it's pretty decent. They sort of do the Survivor Man thing where it's just them and their camera.
Yeah, and it's just one guy. That's the whole thing. You could only be alone for so long. You know,
it's a whole
Naked
nother
and
animal.
Afraid is like 30 days, the normal one. But alone, just to be alone in the like Siberian tundra for 60 days. Fuck
people
that.
do like 100.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's after that. Like drive yourself crazy with no human interaction for 100 days in the wilderness where everything wants to kill you. The planet wants to kill you. You know what I mean?
That's real life.
Yeah.
You might say the life we were meant to live.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Humbled by nature that we live in.
Right. You can't make fire. You die within a couple of days up here. You know what I mean?
Jen wore white today.
What's up?
I said Jen wore white today. Or a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Commenting on her outfit.
She got that checkerboard going.
Yep.
All right, let's get at it. Let's see what she had to say.
Two updates for all of you at the top. Today, President Biden will meet with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. President Biden's first phone call, as you all know, was to a foreign leader, was to the Prime Minister. and it's fitting testament that this is his first bilateral meeting. The president will highlight the strong and deep partnership between the United States and Canada as neighbors,
She have a black
friends,
eye?
and NATO allies.
She's got some
Both
thick ass
leaders will
fucking
review
mascara
joint
on that
efforts
eye.
in areas of mutual interest and establish a roadmap for an ambitious
She does
and
look like she
whole
got a
of
black
government
eye.
approach on issues such
Ambitious?
as recovery from COVID-19, a sustainable and inclusive economic recovery,
Right? She does look
tackling
like
the
she's got a
climate
shiner.
crisis, advancing
sure.
diversity and inclusion,
Somebody
bolstering
popped her
security
ass.
and defense, and strengthening global alliances. Vice President Harris, along with the Secretaries of State, Defense, Treasury,
Laugh after you say climate
Transportation,
change
and Homeland
again,
Security,
bitch.
and the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate will also be participating in the bilateral session with their Canadian counterparts. Today, the president will also meet virtually with a group of Black essential workers to thank them for their critical roles during the pandemic and to discuss how to encourage vaccination.
Why they gotta be
The
black?
COVID-19
Right? Why
pandemic
Can't just be
and the
essential
corresponding
workers.
It's
economic
on their
crisis
race.
are devastating Black communities. While Black Americans comprise 13% of the U.S. population, they represent nearly 24% of age-adjusted deaths from COVID-19. The president also looks forward to discussing
Age-adjusted
how his
deaths.
American
What does that
Rescue
mean?
Plan will deliver immediate relief to the participants, their communities, and the
They're only
American
counting
people
deaths under
by
60.
keeping frontline workers on the job with
I mean, they raised
$350
the
billion
age of
in
retirement.
emergency
So
funding
is
for
that
state and local
what age are they
governments,
counting for
providing
that?
$1,400
Age
per
of
person
eligibility
to
for
working families,
death count.
and investing $160 billion in supplies, testing, vaccinations, and public health workforce to
Not in
to
people,
defeat the
just in
virus.
things.
Today, on his weekly governor's call with America's governors, our COVID coordinator, Jeff Zients, announced the 5th consecutive week of supply increases. States will now receive 14.5
What do you mean? I thought
million
cases
doses
were down
this week,
44%.
up from
Why do we need
8.6 million doses per week
Why do we
when
need
the
all that
president
money
took
spent on
office. That's
supplies
an
if
increase
shit's going down?
in vaccine allocations of nearly 70% during the Biden-Harris administration.
Vaccine
The retail
allocations.
pharmacy program has also performed well despite the winter storm. We announced last week an increase of 1 to 2 million
Honey
doses,
badger.
and our COVID coordinator, Jeff
Maybe
Zients, I
she
should
got
say,
two
conveyed to the
ocular
governors we will
implants.
increase that allocation by 100,000 doses
Wave
this
of the
week.
future.
Thanks to the president's efforts, we are also on track to have enough vaccines.
It's like the
Age-adjusted
eye
death
of
rate
our day.
By
is
the
a
end of
death
July,
rate that
we can
controls
continue to encourage Americans
for
to
the effects
mask
and
up,
differences in
respect social
population
distancing, and
age
abide by public
distributions.
health guidelines.
It
One
weighs
more
the
update from here. Actually,
age-specific
sorry,
rates
2 more
observed in
updates
a population of
on the
interest
winter
by the
storm.
proportion of
Yesterday,
each age
FEMA
group in the
announced that
standard
Texas homeowners
population.
and renters in 31 additional counties who suffered damage from the winter storm may now apply for
So when they
individual
multiply
disaster
13 by
assistance.
2, they
The
get
31 additional
25%.
counties join the 77
basically
counties
what happened.
previously approved for individual disaster assistance. In Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma, sheltering operations continue to decrease, power and transportation are back to normal, and water restoration continues. However, 9.8 million people are
However.
Honey
impacted
badger.
by water system outages and remain under
That was a
boil
good plug,
water
badge.
notices. Over 9 million liters of water have been delivered or are en route. There are over 200 locally managed water distribution sites supported by local, federal, private sector, and donated resources. Finally, I have one travel announcement, which you all have been asking about. We, of course, remain in close touch with state and local elected officials.
No
to
one's
monitor
asking
the
about when
recovery.
you're going to
And
Texas.
on Friday,
Nobody
the
in
president
Texas
and the
wants to
First
see
Lady
you
will travel
people.
to Houston. The president will meet with local leaders to discuss the winter storm, relief efforts, progress toward recovery,
To discuss the dark
and
winter,
incredible resilience
the
shown by
trademarked
the
dark
people of
winter.
Houston and Texas. While in Texas,
The
the
I
president
told you
will
so
also
tour.
visit a COVID health center where vaccines are being distributed. Clearly, there are still more
told you it was
details
going to be
that are
dark,
coming together.
and I
Well, I
told you
know-
it was going to be winter.
We will make those
I
available
noticed you guys
publicly.
don't like to watch my videos
Questions?
on the YouTube and
S&P reported
internets,
this
but
morning
I
that
told
home
you a
prices
dark
are up
winter was coming.
10%
I tried to tell
over
you.
the past year. We've seen inventories of homes for sale at record lows, and that means first-time buyers aren't able to make the step into housing that's been a bedrock of middle-class identity. What is this administration doing on housing affordability?
Hey, I just
Um,
got a
Deal
raise
with
again on
the
unemployment,
crisis.
$400 a week.
Well, the president is committed to ensuring homeownership is something that more Americans can participate in. He knows owning a home is a key measure of building generational wealth, and he's already taken steps through executive actions to help provide some security to Americans struggling to keep their homes in the midst of this crisis by extending foreclosure and forbearance moratoriums. The American Rescue Plan would also provide $10 billion for the Homeowners Assistance Fund to help struggling homeowners keep up. And as part of the broader Build Back Better agenda, which I know
That
you're
doesn't
all
do
eager to hear more
anything
about,
for
one of
getting
the
new
tenets he is,
homeowners.
of course, interested in is looking for
Increasing
ways to
new
increase the supply of
homeowners was the
affordable
question.
housing, making it easier for more people to buy homes.
He wasn't asking about people getting kicked out of their
repeatedly
homes.
about how we should properly memorialize the deaths from the coronavirus after last night's service.
He's a
Is this
professional
administration
moment of
costs
silence
benefits
holder.
of how to honor the
I
dead?
guess that's all Trump had to
Well,
do when he was
first,
president
I
was
don't know.
fucking
I
come out and
watched
light a
last night, and
candle
I'm
and have a
pretty,
moment of silence every
you know,
2
I've
weeks.
seen a lot of
He
presidential
wouldn't have
events,
been
and I
the
found
fucking
myself
evil
getting choked up
dictator.
when I watched the
Cheeto.
events happening
His
on the
candlelit
television screen in my
McDonald's
office
dinner
last night.
party
And
for
the
COVID
president and the vice
victims and
president
their
will continue
families.
to look for ways to memorialize the lives that have been lost and remember the families.
He would have got eaten
But our
alive,
view
but it
here
still
is
would
that
have
the
been
best
more than Joe
memorial
Biden's done
we
so
could offer
far.
to those who have lost their lives to COVID is to end this pandemic and reduce the number of others who would otherwise perish, and the number of families.
We'd
who would
also
be
like to
impacted.
end this
And that's our
pandemic,
focus
so
now.
just
And when we have this
say it's
crisis
over
behind
already.
us, we're at a war, as we've said many times.
Tell people the
We will
truth
consult
about
rather
what
than
the sickness
proper way
is
to mark this
and
horrible
let people
loss of
do what
life.
they
And certainly
do.
we're open to that. But
Like Nancy
at this point
Pelosi
in time, our
says.
focus is on the pandemic and saving more lives. Go ahead.
Thank you. Does the White House have a plan B if Neera Tanden doesn't work out? And could you give us a
They
sense
better.
of what that looks like?
Well,
Boom.
the White House's focus, the president's focus, is on
Because of that
working toward the
executive order
confirmation
that we
of
just read you.
Tanden
It's
to
very
lead,
important, isn't it?
Very
to be the
important.
OMB director. That is our focus.
And I'm going to go out on a
Anything
limb
about
and
Gene
say
Sperling or Ann
they
O'Leary,
absolutely
who've
have a
also been
backup.
floated?
They have a long line.
There's one candidate to lead the budget department. Her name is Neera Tanden, and I can give you a brief update though on kind of the outreach that's happened. And I know there's been a couple of questions along
So
those lines.
I say
she has had
next week
44
she's going to be
meetings now,
gassing up some
with
new
senators
candidate.
of both parties. She's spoken with 15 senators from both parties since Friday. Some of those were repeats of people she had.
Or she
spoken
just
with
has that much
previously,
faith in
but,
the uniparty.
as I noted yesterday,
And there's just
she's,
no doubt that they're getting her
committed
in.
to rolling up her sleeves,
Yeah.
having those conversations, answering questions as
said
they come up.
she's talked to a
reiterating her
lot of
commitment to
people in the
working with
last
people
week or
across the
so.
aisle, and also sharing some of her own experience of working with people of different viewpoints.
Quickly on the Supreme Court decision to allow
They
Trump's
keep
tax
saying
returns to
that,
share
working
New
with
York
people of
prosecutors.
different
I just wondered
viewpoints.
if you had a reaction.
Like, what different viewpoint
Sure.
did she work with people on? Can
There's been
you
reporting through many
you know,
of your sources,
give us
probably
a
yours as well, of
instance of that?
multiple other ongoing investigations. So we're not going to comment on this specific ruling. The president did make clear on the campaign trail that the American people expect and deserve transparency from their president. That's why he released over 2 decades of his own tax returns.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yep.
On the Canada meeting, I
And
just
we still
wanted
have
to
questions
say
on
a
him.
little bit more
What about Hunter?
Biden plans to bring
Yep,
up
exactly.
with Trudeau, and also what his view is of this decision.
What
by
about the little
Canada
crackhead
recently
that's
to
profiting in his
make
daddy's name?
Facebook pay for news content?
Well, the president's focus of the meeting will be to continue to discuss ways for them to work together on
His focus will be to
levels
stay
on
awake.
the crises that are facing both countries, whether it's COVID-19
Gas up.
Or getting our economy back. There's obviously a
Getting
long
our
bilateral
economy
relationship and an
So then
important
let us
one.
out the
This is
house.
the first bilateral
Wait,
meeting.
hold on.
I'm not sure. I don't have anything on
We
that
got a
particular.
minor
I don't have any
news
reaction.
story breaking right now. They said that 13 GOP lawmakers cite a public health emergency to vote by proxy on COVID bill. All of them are planning to attend CPAC this weekend.
Yes, that's just saw that pop up.
That's trolly. That's super trolly.
I don't like it though. I don't like that whole voting by proxy and this whole government by Zoom, legislating by Zoom, for a couple reasons.
Yeah, no, I don't like it at all.
But also then, if that's the case, if they're just gonna fucking Zoom legislate from their ivory towers, take the fucking walls down off the Capitol. And let me touch the stones of the forefather. I mean, just like see it and like touch the outside wall, maybe before I die.
Nope. You're gonna be behind a wall.
Yeah, I'm gonna be an insurrectionist if I ever try to go see my nation's capital.
Other side of the wall for you.
It's a shame I didn't make it on that 8th grade trip.
the outreach to senators by Neera Tanden, you said 44, 15 since Friday?
Mhm.
You know if that includes Senator Manchin, Senator Collins, Senator Portman, among those who said yesterday at least that they hadn't heard from her?
It includes a number of Republicans. Obviously, Republicans or any members, I should say, are free to share whether they've communicated with her or other nominees or not. But we're not going to read out specific names from her.
Has the president made any calls to senators for nomination?
The president is in touch with a range of members of Congress about.
It's funny she's
issues
talked to
ranging from the
44
American Rescue
senators
Plan to his
out of
nominees.
100.
I don't have any other
I
calls
wonder
to read out.
how many Republicans.
That's a maybe.
That is, I don't have any more calls to read out.
On Keystone XL, I know that's one issue that will come up today. Obviously, the Canadian Prime Minister feels differently about this than the President does.
Mhm.
Administration officials said that this decision, which was
Biden's going to tell him, don't worry, I got plenty of fucking
used
Turkey and Saudi oil for you.
as the reason to go back.
It's traveled millions of miles.
Let's keep talking, Justin Trudeau. We got plenty more
There is an
blackface
economic
pictures to
effect,
leak
of
anytime
course.
we need to.
11,000 people had jobs connected to this in the United States, at least. What does the White House say to those people, to the Canadian workers who now are going to be out of a job if this pipeline is indeed shut down?
Come on, man. Give me a
Let
break.
me first say that it was the Obama-Biden administration when the assessment was done and done by the State Department at the time. And the president was very consistent through the campaign and even before then about his view that it should be revoked. And he had conversations, of course, with the prime minister about it. The prime minister raised his concerns directly with the president, has previously, and he's, of course, welcome to today. But the president made clear that this is a commitment he has made in the past, that it's not in the interest of the United States, and that we want to try to address our climate crisis while also creating good-paying union jobs. And he has a plan.
You know what's a good
he has
paying
talked about
union
his plan, I
job?
should say, on the campaign trail to
Those
create
UAV
millions of
flyer.
clean energy jobs. And he is eager to
Drone
continue to work with the
technician.
policy team and outside stakeholders
Yeah.
and experts on delivering on that
It's
in the months
government
ahead.
Combat
but
medic.
He believes you can do both, and he has been consistent about that.
The Senate's launched this inquiry into the Capitol.
Just
assault
learn to
against-
suture.
you know, that the House is going back and forth on the
Learn to field
composition of a
dress.
potential commission that would look into this further. There are proposals that include the president appointing some of those positions to a commission. Does the White House have any opinion on that? Is it weighing in at all with lawmakers as they put that together?
Well, we certainly support the desire and the interest of members of Congress to put together a commission. It's up to them to make that determination. We've been in touch with them about a range of options, but I don't think there's anything final at this point. So I don't have anything more to read out on our particular view on which proposal.
And would there be concern that there could be
You guys are already clicked up. You guys really need to make more fucking groups and more clicks.
in terms of investigations and prosecuting?
The White House
Just-
will be
Sure. Well,
involved in the
I'm
decision.
certain we would
We'll
venture
talk.
to
Send a
avoid that,
message
but,
on to the
of
email
course,
list.
Any
What the fuck?
investigation, any process of moving forward toward a prosecution would be
Put it
done
on that
independently
system
by
that
the
was
Justice
live on
Department,
Nancy
and
Pelosi's
that is
desk on
a
January
commitment the
6th.
president,
That
is,
system,
is
just
firm.
send that
These
one to everybody,
conversations
one
with
message to
lawmakers, have there been
everybody.
any other
Done.
conversations about a joint address to Congress? I know you got asked about this recently. And if it's
Mhm.
not in person, would he be willing to do it virtually if he had?
Of course he's
Sure.
going to do
Well,
it
he's clearly
virtually.
willing
He's
to hold
already
events virtually,
filmed.
hence the bilateral meeting today with the Prime Minister of
Joe
Canada.
Biden is
and,
virtually
and
president.
we're certainly open
Yep.
to a range of formats. I don't have any
Virtual
update on a
president.
date or a timeline for a joint address.
With all these deep fakes going
Go ahead,
around.
go ahead, and I'll come to around to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I'm afraid of this legislating by Zoom.
Administration is
It frightens
prepared
me.
to sanction Russia for the SolarWinds hack, but also a range of other malign
Mm-hmm.
cyber activities. Are you able to confirm that those sanctions are coming down?
Yes.
Well, first, we announced our ongoing review, and the president spoke about it in his conversation with President Putin just a few weeks ago. We have asked the intelligence community to do further work to sharpen the attribution that the previous administration made about precisely how the hack occurred, what the extent of the damage is, and what the scope and scale of the intrusion is. And we're still in the process of working that through now. But it will be weeks, not months, before we respond. But I'm not going to get ahead of the conclusion of that process.
Any more specific on
Weeks,
timeline
not months.
as
And
far
then
as- I mean, are we
this
talking
is a
by the
couple of
end
days ago.
month
This
or-
went through, I think,
can you
yesterday.
put any more final point on it?
The end of this month is a couple
They
days away.
they
It'll be a very
increased
short
sanctions
timeline.
on Russia yesterday.
I was thinking, is it March yet? weeks, not months, is the best definition I can give for you. Of course, we want to focus on giving our team the time they need to take additional steps to fine tune the attribution, and we reserve the right to respond at a time and a manner of our choosing.
They just will lie to your
Candidate
face.
nomination,
Yep,
Senator
over
Murkowski said
and
yesterday
over
that she had not heard from the White House, even though she's undecided. Was that an oversight by the White House, and has that been rectified? I mean, if she been?
And I think there's something to be said about all these fucking these journalists, so-called journalists that are there in that room that are witnessing these lies again and again and again, and
we're
aren't,
just not going to provide
being vocal about what this is.
exactly each senator
They're lying.
in office that
They
we've
lied to you.
communicated with, but
There wasn't a
on
misunderstanding
their own, of
or
course,
misreporting.
if they've been reached out to, or
She's lying to you.
or what communication they've had.
Not just her, but
I wanted to clear up something.
we
you
should
said
do that
the
for a
other
future
day,
episode.
which is on
Just
the-
go
on the
through and
Biden
find a
you had said
video
there's
compilation
essentially
of
changes,
Joe
and
Biden's campaign
maybe some
promises
raised concerns about whether they would be able to
on the
obtain
campaign
waivers,
trail
like
and
they
just
did
play
with
him
Obama.
actually saying
So,
the things
when
that
you
he
said
lied
you
about.
didn't anticipate any changes to that policy. Did you mean to suggest that the Canadian companies will not be able to obtain waivers under the policy?
No, I appreciate that, or I appreciate the ask for clarification, I should say. Of course, the president signed a Made in America executive order in the first week, I believe, of the administration, and we're still evaluating the application of that and how it will apply. I don't expect him to make any commitments during the meeting today.
So they signed an executive order,
Usually during
but they
these,
did not know
visits
how to
on
implement
stage,
it
you
or
know,
what it would
there's a
do,
2 and 2
and they
element.
still haven't
You
taken
have
these
questions,
fucking
so we're gonna
steps.
see that later.
No, that she's lying again. She's
I don't
talking about
expect what's
the
gonna be
Build
part of the
Back
program
Better, the
today.
Made
Obviously,
in
there's several
America
components,
portion.
as I noted,
Yeah.
a smaller
Asking if
meeting, a more
if
expanded
Canada
meeting,
is
and
going to
then
be
some
considered
comments at the
America.
end, but that's the program at this point in time.
Yeah, but she just said that they haven't taken any. They said we signed this executive order and we're still in the brainstorming fucking
that
stage.
In the future, there will be
That was an
1 and
executive
1 and
order
2
we
and
didn't
2
get to yet. That's
and
a
other opportunities to
100-day
ask
study.
questions, even when foreign leaders are not visiting. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. A few on immigration.
I remember
Merrick
the
Garland
president
was
not
asked
too long ago
yesterday
that got a
if
ton of
illegal
shit done
entry
in the
at
first
border
100
should
days.
remain a crime. And he said, I haven't thought about that question. Does President Biden believe that illegal entry at the border should remain a crime moving forward?
Well, I think he was being asked as the Attorney General, the future Attorney
Well, it
General.
better
I
not
think
be a
he's
crime
looking
if I
ahead to
fucking
be
bail to
confirmed,
Mexico.
Of the United States, and if he wants to make considerations independently, he can certainly do that. But the president's spoken to this, and we believe in abiding by our
Call me
laws.
La
As you
Flama
know, there,
Blanca.
of course, is a process underway at the Department of Homeland Security to take a fresh look at prioritization and who is detained and who is sent back home. So that is something happening from the
Who
Department
built
of
the
Homeland Security.
cages?
But again, if he's going to lead an independent Justice Department, and it's his prerogative to take a look at any policies under their purview.
And to that point, why is the Biden administration reopening a temporary facility for migrant children in Texas?
Well, first, the policy of this administration is
Because we don't have any room because we didn't empty any of the
not to
cages like we
expel
said we were going
unaccompanied
to.
children
In fact,
who
we're still
arrive
stuffing
at
the
border.
cages, and we need more
the
room for the
process, how
cages
it
that we're
works,
stuffing.
Is that
Yep.
Customs and Border Control continue to transfer unaccompanied
'Cause
children
they
to the
didn't
HHS
stop
Office
coming.
of Refugee Resettlement. That can take a couple of days. I just want to give this context because people need to understand the process. But
It's a
because
good
of
thing illegal
COVID-19
immigrants don't carry
protocols,
COVID, right?
The social distancing
Otherwise, we'd be in
requirements,
trouble.
the capacity
Right.
of the existing Office of Refugee Resettlement
COVID
shelters
in
has been
foxholes, right?
significantly reduced because, of course, you can't have a child in every bed. There needs to be spacing, and we abide by those spacing to protect.
You can't have a
the
child
kids,
in every bed.
who are living in those facilities for a short period of time. And to ensure the health and safety of these kids, HHS took steps to open an emergency facility to add capacity where these children can be provided the care they need before they are safely placed with families and sponsors. So it's
Okay,
a temporary
so kids in
reopening during
cages. Check.
COVID-19.
Got it.
Our intention is very much to close
Amen.
it, but we want to ensure that we can follow
Our intention is to close it, but we
protocols
just opened it.
as unaccompanied minors come into the United States.
But it's the same facility that was open for a month in the Trump administration, summer 2019. That is when Joe Biden said, under Trump, there have been horrifying scenes at the border of kids being kept in cages. And Kamala Harris said, basically, babies in cages is a human rights abuse being committed by the United States government. So how is this any different than that?
We very much feel that way. These are facilities. Let me be clear here. One, there's a pandemic going on. I'm sure you're not suggesting that we have children right next to each other in ways that are not COVID safe, are you?
Just turn them around and send them
Kamala
back.
Harris said that this facility, putting people in this facility, was a human rights abuse committed by the
This
United
facility,
States government. And
this
Joe
specific
Biden said,
facility is
under Trump,
cages.
there have been horrifying scenes of at the border of kids being kept in cages. Now it's not under Trump; it's under Biden.
This is not kids being kept in cages.
It's the same facility.
Same
This is a
exact
facility that was opened that's going to follow the same standards as other HHS facilities. It is not a replication, certainly not. That is never our intention of replicating the immigration policies of the past administration. But we are in a circumstance where we are not going to expel unaccompanied minors at the border. That would be inhumane. That is not what we are going to do here as an administration. We need to find places that are safe under COVID protocols for kids to be, where they can have access to education, health and mental services.
Okay, so
consistent
kids
with
in
their
cages.
best interests.
Got it.
Our goal is for them to then be transferred
It's
to
okay
families
now.
or sponsors. So this is our effort to ensure that
Pot
kids are
called-
treated
pot
are not
calling the kettle
in
orange
close
once
proximity,
again.
and that we are abiding by the health and safety standards that the government has been set out.
Just
Go ahead.
quickly on
This is
climate,
how you create a joker.
Climate envoy John Kerry said that there
Kids
are
in
only
cages.
9 years left to save the world from
Indoctrinated.
the types of climate change. Does President Biden share that assessment? 9 years.
You're gonna have a Tekashi
I
6ix9ine
don't
on
have a new
steroids in
timeline
18
to
years.
give you from here. I can confirm for you, though, that the president agrees with former Secretary Kerry that it's a crisis, that time is of the essence. We need to act quickly, and that's why climate is a key part of his
And
agenda.
that's why we're bombing Syria before getting any
the
relief for our
climate
people.
change czar says we have 9 years
Oh,
left
sorry. Go ahead,
to
Caitlin.
change the world, and Joe
Well,
Biden
just
doesn't
because-
agree.
Picking up on this discussion about the HHS facility versus Customs and Border Protection facilities.
Mhm.
There's a law that says you're supposed to get kids out of those facilities, a CBP facility, in
Yeah.
3 days.
Yes.
The data we obtained said that there were at least 179 kids had spent more than 3 days in those kinds of facilities in January, despite internal policy dictating that all minors should get out within 3 days. Immigration attorneys that work with these kids, advocates, seeing all of this. and
Here's some
saying,
facts. Kids in
This
cages,
isn't that much
facts.
better than what was going on before. In regards to the HHS, the use of the HHS facility, they say it's a step backwards. So
Ooh,
there's the criticism that was made by
Hi-yo.
candidates Biden and Harris, and then there's the criticism concerned now of these attorneys who work with and represent these children who say this isn't much different than what the Trump administration was doing.
Hey,
Let me first say that you're right, that kids, there's about
You're
a
right.
72
It's not
hour
much different.
time
He's
frame
not orange.
where kids should be transferred from CBP facilities to HHS sponsored facilities. And that is certainly our objective. In terms of the specific kids that you mentioned, I would send you to DHS to give you more information on that.
I just
Tell
that
me
is
which
not,
ones.
Information,
that is
bitch.
not what
I
we are
just
told
hoping
you
to achieve.
the
We want these
information.
kids to be
Yeah.
in facilities where they are getting access to health and medical assistance, to education. As you know, there are a number who have
So
come
the
into the
doctors-
country.
they
and
get
we're
doctors
managing
and
that
books
as
inside their
and ensure
cages,
that
huh?
we are able to transfer them as quickly as possible.
they have a doctor on
Not
Zoom
just to
tablet,
stay in
you
the
know.
HHS facilities either, to get them into families and sponsored homes. That is
And
our
probably a
human
direct
and
link to
moral
some
objective
rich
from
Hollywood
this
pervert.
administration. But I would send you to DHS
Watch
any
for
more
their own
specifics on
enjoyment.
those kids.
Sounds
Fair
like
question.
children who have been
A few weeks
separated
ago
from their
when
families
you
are
guys
still in
announced the
cages.
Outlines of the immigration executive order.
Sounds like they ain't going nowhere either.
People in Central America
Yeah.
who are thinking of making this trip. You gave an answer then. I guess I'd ask you,
Sounds like
the
American troops in the
administration-
Middle East. They're just they're
is-
always going to
is
be
the
there.
U.S. government doing enough to make clear to that part of the world it's not worth making this kind of a trip?
Well, we can always do more. And I think the challenge
Oh,
here, as you know,
we
is
can
that
do
people are
more,
fleeing
meaning you're
prosecution.
not doing
They're
enough.
fleeing very difficult economic circumstances and hardship, and there hasn't been
Economic
enough time to do enough to
circumstances are
impact
not
the circumstances
asylum
on the ground in a number
seekable.
of these communities. And
It's not what you
obviously,
seek
as these
asylum from.
unaccompanied kids
Financial
come to the
hardship.
border, it's
It's not how it
completely
works.
heartbreaking. We're not going to expel these kids. We want to process and get them into facilities as quickly as possible, but
Get them
certainly
into
we're always looking for
facilities.
ways to do more, to
Yep.
communicate more
Making
effectively
license
and
plates and
clearly with
such.
communities in the region about
that's
why
all
this
the
is not
government
time to
wants,
come. We
is
need more
people
time to
in
put place
facilities.
a humane and moral immigration system.
Not
Parents should
homes,
be sending their kids away.
facilities.
Absolutely not.
Precisely.
This is not the time to come. We have not had the time to put in place
I've
an
seen these
immigration
facilities.
system, an immigration policy. We don't have the processing we need at the border. Obviously, we're
We haven't had the
we are
time to get
continuing
this
to struggle
done. We
with
don't know what we're
facilities to
doing. We
ensure that
don't
we're
have
abiding
the
by
fucking
COVID protocols.
things
This
in
is definitely not the
place.
time to come.
We stopped
So-
the wall, so now there's holes.
You know what sounds like would almost be better? It almost sounds like she was trying to get to, or she was inching around it. If we put up a wall
That's certainly our expectation.
and had like
Yeah.
one
As I noted
entry
earlier,
point where we could
Nira
check
is,
people
built up
coming
her
through.
sleeves. She's
Oh
getting to
shit, we
work.
got an
We're getting to
unaccompanied
work,
kid here.
and
All right,
we
let's get this kid
understand,
out of here.
that we need
But
to,
instead of having,
continue to engage
spots
with
where
a range of
kids can
members
come
from
by
Democrats to
themselves all over
Republicans,
the
and we're gonna
place
keep
and starve
doing
to
that,
death and
but
not
she's
make
the
it,
president's choice.
we have this
because
entry
she's
point where, hey,
experienced
send
and
your kid over
qualified,
here. Fuck it.
we continue
Yep.
to support
Everywhere else, it's a fucking
About
wall.
the outreach to Republicans, what we're seeing with
I don't know.
this,
Makes a lot of
potentially
fucking
being
sense.
derailed is how one senator can
Too bad we
really
didn't get that
derail
wall.
potentially the president's staff picks for
I
his
just
policy,
imagine
potentially
now,
with the minimum
just like a
wage,
big,
maybe
huge
not making
wall,
it to
a
the
big
coronavirus relief bill.
impediment,
Is he
and then
frustrated by
just
that, and
like
how does he plan to
cleared
handle that
and
going
leveled
forward?
land.
Well, the
Yeah.
president comes
Nothing
to
stopping
this role having served
anybody, you know
36
what I
years in the
mean?
Senate,
Like
so
they're
he has the
getting ready to
benefit of
build a wall there.
experience of
They had it ready.
recognizing the power of
And then,
any one
then they just
individual
need
senator
it.
or one individual
That
Need
member,
it.
and
that
he
has
certainly
been
respects that.
fucking blown to
We
smithereens and flattened
disagree, as
out.
we talked about a
People
little
could
bit
just walk
yesterday, with
across there now, where
the
it used
senators
to,
who have come
used to
out in
have to climb.
opposition to Neera Tanden, but we all are also going to look for ways to work with them on
Call
the
it
president's
Biden's
agenda,
pass.
and that's the experience he takes and the perspective
The
he takes
straight
to
of
this
Biden.
office.
Manchin has proposed an $11, or says he will propose an amendment that would
What's up,
make
Scholar?
the minimum wage increase $11, not the $15 that President Biden has proposed.
Oh,
He signed a coronavirus relief bill
$11.
that had an $11 minimum wage in there.
Well, the president proposed $15 because that's what he feels is right for the American worker,
But
American
it got
workers, I
shot
should say, and the men and
down. So
women
now
who are
what?
working hard, just trying to make ends meet. And that's why that number was in his package. It hasn't even passed the House yet. We expect that to happen this weekend. There'll be an opportunity for Senator Manchin and others to put forward
Right now,
ideas and
real time, it
proposals,
says
and
on
we'll see
CNN,
where that
Trump's
process
voter
lands.
fraud lies
But,
on full
he
display
proposed
at
the $15
CPAC.
increase for a reason,
Like,
and he stands
Trump
by it.
hasn't even
He said
talked
that he
yet.
would be open
These
to
people are
compromise with this. So
insane.
is $11 something that he would be willing to compromise with Manchin on?
Again, there's going to be a process that works its way through the Senate. We don't even know where it's going to end up outside of when it works its way through the bird bath. I just want to keep just using
Why
that
does he
phrase
just sign
here,
an executive order?
and we expect that to happen in the next
Why does
couple
she want to
days, and then
keep
we'll see where it
using
goes
that
from there.
phrase? Works
The
its
bird
way
bath?
through the bird
Meeting
bath.
with
Yeah.
Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau. Canada wants to get
Why
vaccines
is
from
why
the
is
US,
that a
mainly the
phrase that
Pfizer
she's
plant
working
in
on?
Michigan, but so far the US
She's
is a
she's
contract
way
with them
too
that their
interested
first
in
100 million doses are going to the US,
coining
and they expect
catchphrases
that, according to the
than
advisors, by the end
speaking
of
for the
June.
White House.
So does that mean Canada should not expect to get vaccines from the US until at least this summer, until at least June?
Well, the president's first priority is ensuring every American is vaccinated. And our focus right now is getting shots in arms at home. He looks forward to engaging with the prime minister, as we've already discussed. And there are multiple ways we can work together on a COVID response. All options are on the table down the road.
Right
but
now, I
don't
got
have
some
anything
folks to shoot
update
up.
you on about Pfizer providing vaccinations.
We got
other
some
than,
oil
we
to
remain committed
earn.
to getting Americans vaccinated.
So you don't expect him to give Prime Minister Trudeau any kind of timeline of when they can expect to be able to receive
Bitch, you're supposed to be on my
vaccines
side.
from the US and Canada?
I don't anticipate that now. Go ahead.
Who's paying you?
Two questions, if I might. The first one, polls have shown that 3/4 or so of Republicans still apparently believe that the election was stolen.
I think she wears such thick fabric because she's got to be sweating so much. By the time it's time to start questions, and then by the time questions are wrapped up,
Serious issue.
she's just got to be
How's
fucking
the president
shaking,
feel about
pits
former President Trump going
drenched.
to CPAC this weekend?
She's
You'll
got
have
an
a huge
extra
audience.
pants
It's an
suit in your
enormous
office.
platform. Does the president think that's actually a problem, a threat, in his view?
Well, the president's view is that we've spent a whole lot of time, not we, but in this briefing room, talking about President Trump over the last few years. I guess for good reason. He was president, and that his view is we're going to spend the time focusing about the American people and our objectives to help them and our commitment to helping them. So
So why do
I
you
wouldn't
talk
say
about
he's
Trump
thought a
so
lot
much?
about the former president's visit to I was going to say performance. Maybe that's appropriate.
She don't know Orange Man's gun.
He goes with
She
former
didn't get the
guy's
memo.
strategy. Like, you could boil it down to that. Obviously, former President Trump isn't just going to sit on his hands. He's got his message to give out, and the point is, this message, according to President Biden, is literally dangerous. So, does he have a problem with such a high-profile person giving out what he thinks is a dangerous message?
Well, we haven't even seen the former president speak at CPAC. Obviously, President Biden has spoken to his concerns about the rhetoric of the former president, how he was unfit for office. That's why
The rhetoric is a threat to the narrative.
Always has been.
Afghanistan.
It's time to-
orange again.
It's put up time. Such a dangerous, fucking evil,
Is the president worried?
violence-inducing person.
Worried that the Taliban are going to take
And he
over
has a
Afghanistan?
message to give out to his people this weekend.
Well, obviously, there's a
You
timeline.
think that they'd have an
for a
opinion one way or
decision on
the other?
next steps here. I don't have any update on that. And once that's made, we can certainly have that conversation.
I
Threats
don't
of
know shit.
Taliban taking over Afghanistan.
Certainly, I wouldn't say he would no. I don't think he'd say be okay with that. But again, there's a ongoing
Taliban's
process
trying to
of
stop them from
considering
growing
the next
heroin
steps in
again?
Afghanistan. That's an ongoing
Taliban's getting these
discussion,
crazy
and I'm not
ideas
ahead
to
of it.
stop heroin production.
Go ahead.
Yes, two questions.
Wow, are we back in time? Is it 2000?
Some estimates of the unemployment assistance that states have paid out.
It's a good thing we still have those Al Qaeda buddies in Syria.
So is the administration concerned that there may be
Al-Qaeda?
Americans
Al-Qaeda.
are going to face a surprise tax bill, some of whom
It's crazy
are still
how the
unemployed?
revolving
And
door
has the
works, isn't
administration
it?
Considered changing the way the IRS looks at least the pandemic-related unemployment assistance, treat it like disaster aid, and so it doesn't have taxes withheld.
That's a really interesting question. I would certainly send you the Treasury
She's like,
Department
oh God,
for that.
he's
I'm
asking
happy to
about
help you
economics.
make
Oh
a
God, I have
connection
no
there to
idea.
Discuss that further.
Super interesting.
Does the administration
Um,
have a response to?
I love numbers,
the
just not the
Republican of
racist
Georgia,
white
where the
ones.
top opposition leader was arrested
I
by
think they're
government
called
forces.
Prime
And
or
then get
whatever.
back to you.
Consideration of sanctions or other kind of pressure on the government of Georgia.
Yeah, I certainly saw the reports this morning. I didn't have a chance to talk to our national security team, but we'll venture to get you something after the briefing on that as well. I didn't help you much today. I will try to do that after the briefing. Go ahead.
Oh, after the
A few
briefing.
points,
That's
but I just
awesome.
want to pick up on what Sebastian was asking about former President Trump first.
Sure.
It sounds like you just plan to ignore him and essentially try to deprive his message of oxygen. But do you plan,
Oh,
the
imagine
White House
that.
plan rather, to engage with him in any way, particularly if he launches political attacks on this administration and its policies?
In what way engage with him?
I mean, push back in any way on
You
those?
tell me.
Again, as you said, you can't know what
You
former
would be
President
the
Trump will say during CPAC, but
engagee
it's
in this
pretty likely
scenario.
he'll have some things to say about the sitting president in this administration. So do you plan to engage
He's
with him
gonna
on those
murder
things,
him.
or-
I
He's
guess we'll
gonna
have to watch
absolutely
and see,
murder
but
the
our
Biden
overarching
administration for
objective is
37 days.
to keep the
worth of
focus not
work.
on any one individual, whether it's the
He's like,
current
I got that
president
much
or the
done in the
former
first
president,
2.5
but on the
hours.
American people and what we're
Sleepy
doing
Joe
to help
sleeping
bring
on
them
the job.
relief, to get the pandemic under control. And certainly there's been more than enough time.
I mean,
spent,
honestly, that's why they could
on
never
former
let
President
Donald Trump
And
back
so,
on Twitter.
if there's not a reason to do
That's
it, we're probably not
the
going to,
real reason why.
be, adding more commentary on it.
On the topic of immigration, the Biden
Because he
administration
would
is also
flame these bitches
reopening
up.
a detention center in Florida, formerly known as the Homestead.
Who built the
Detention
cages, Joe?
Facility. The administration plans to house migrant teens in that facility.
Ooh,
Get a
That
fucking
also
kids,
be
but
a
teens.
temporary emergency center
Donald
like the one
Trump
you were
crying
discussing before.
outside of the new migrant
I'd
children
have to
facility,
talk to the Department of Homeland Security about that. I would certainly
Ooh.
send you to them to talk to them more.
or just sweating.
She just got really interesting and she was like,
whether or
I don't
not
know.
the Biden
Okay, bye.
administration plans to have it privately managed again, given the pledge by the president.
All these
to
reporters
close down
are
privately
just
run
stumping the
detention
shit out of her
Absolutely. I know
consistently.
you've asked this question before, and I'd be happy to connect you with someone from the Department of Homeland Security. They obviously oversee
So she's.
those
I know
programs,
you've asked
so
this question
they're best,
before, but I
prepared
have
to
not
answer.
done anything to prepare for this.
Go ahead, Florida. Let's just stay on.
That's
Florida.
okay. Big Florida Day.
All right. So there are reports that President Biden is considering.
She can
former
confirm that
Senator
Florida is a
Bill
place.
Nelson to be his
She looked it
NASA
up.
administrator.
Looked it up.
Are those reports accurate? Is he under consideration? And when do you expect an announcement?
I don't have any personnel announcements for you or any expectation of when we will have an announcement on a NASA administrator or a list of potential.
Rest assured,
people.
He will be
That's an
German.
interesting one. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. A couple questions, one for another colleague who
Mm-hmm.
can't be here today, but I wanted to start with one more on the Neera Tanden nomination.
Sure.
Does the administration believe there is a double standard at play here, that Republicans and perhaps some Democrats are pointing to her partisan tweets, offensive tweets, as a reason to oppose her nomination, and that they have not held certain men to the same standard?
Well, the president was proud.
What is
to,
men?
What
are
nominate,
men?
Orange
a
man gone.
historic,
I don't know what
set of
what men are
nominees
anymore.
who, not only were
So you're gonna
many
have to
of them were
rephrase your
barrier-breaking,
question.
including Neera Tanden,
You're gonna have to
but
Use
also incredibly qualified. and
ungendered language,
experienced.
please.
And he certainly,
replace your flag speech
believes
with the
that members of the
corresponding
Senate
pronoun,
are going to
please.
consider
5
them and
demerits on
will
social
continue
credit
to
score for
consider
Mr.
them,
Mr.
with
Question
the
Man.
best of intention. From here, we're going to keep our eyes focused on outreach to Democrats and Republicans and working toward getting Neera Tanden confirmed so we can get the budget
Not gonna happen.
process moving.
She's done, Zoe.
A colleague regarding Postmaster General DeJoy and his appearance before the House Oversight Committee tomorrow, and some proposed changes that he has put forth that some people are concerned will slow down mail.
How long
further,
before
raise the
that
cost of
job
mail
is
delivery
either
air mail.
eliminated
Question
or
is,
it's
is there
just
any
an
indication
Amazon
when
ambassador
President Biden will appoint
position?
members to the 3 vacancies?
Yeah,
of
they
the
should
Board of
force
Governors for the
Amazon
Postal
to
Sure,
fucking
it's a great
soak up the
question. It is a priority for the
USPS
president to
because of the discount that they
to appoint
get on all the
to
fucking
announce the appointment
deliveries
of, I
they
should say,
fucking put through the
additional
post
members of
office.
the Board of Governors. As you are familiar with, but others may not be, it's really up to the Board of Governors to determine the future leadership of the Postal Service. And we certainly recognize that filling those vacancies is an important step
Fucking
in
get
that
rid of it.
process. It's a priority. I don't have a timeline for you on when those will be announced, though.
Public sector,
Go ahead in the back.
all the
Thank
way.
you, Jen, about the bilat between the Prime Minister and the President.
Public
the expression
public
used is a
sector
roadmap
with
for
a fucking
renewing
federal
Canada-US
regulation,
relationship.
way cheaper.
From the White House and the President.
It's not like we'd ever
standpoints,
get money
how did
taken off
the
our taxes though, so it's like
relationship need
fucking who cares? You know what I mean?
How did it need
You never give
mending?
money back. Once
Well,
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
think that the objective for the president is to
Yeah,
look
the
forward
tax
and to
that number never
take,
goes down. It
continue
just
to build
finds
the
a new
relationship
plateau
with
and it just
Prime
sits
Minister
there. That's the
Trudeau,
new floor.
obviously, who he
Yep.
knew previously from when, or had engaged with previously from when he
talking
was
about
vice
glass
president,
ceilings,
and to work together
talking
on
about
addressing
concrete floors.
many of the shared crises we face, from economic downturn to COVID-19 to issues in the global community. And I don't know that they're going to provide a lot of spend
Talking
a lot of
about
time
concrete
analyzing the past.
shoes.
They're going to look to the future.
The relationship was in bad shape when he got into-
Forget about
when he got
it.
into the White
Don't
House.
worry about your
The president
grandma.
views his role as in the global community.
Yep,
as
she's
one
in the
who wants to
finest
rebuild,
facility in New York.
relationships, rebuild trust with a range of partners.
You'll see her
including
soon.
the
You keep
Canadians,
talking.
And, that's why this meeting today will be forward-looking and focused on a range of topics.
Where it was damaged in the last 4 years.
Well, we'll leave that to the Prime Minister to speak to, but certainly we're eager to continue to build the relationship moving forward.
Another question, Jen. Thank you. Another question is, we're talking a lot about the economic relationship and restarting the North American economy. Would the reopening of the border be discussed, considered? Because this is a major point, like blocking the economies from working.
The Canadian border?
Canadian-US border.
She's like, what do you mean the
closed for a
Canadian
year
border?
now. Do you know if it's going to be discussed? And if
She
we
doesn't
can
even
see
know
it
the
into
border's
this-
closed with Canada.
Related to COVID-19 or related to
So
She has no idea that the Canadian border's locked down.
restarting the North American economy. We have the COVID crisis at the moment, but the closing of the border and the possibility of improving the economies between the country and the North American economy.
Did they discuss
Do you think
opening
we'll
the
be
border?
discussing the reopening of the border?
Have you guys forgotten about Canada?
I'm sure there'll be a range of topics discussed, and obviously they'll both bring up issues. I can only speak to what President Biden will bring up, and we'll have a readout after the meeting. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. I have a couple on COVID, but first I'd like to follow up on homeownership.
She's getting another black eye after this one.
The president's economic plan from the campaign trail had a provision in there for the $15,000
Come here. Let me smell your
buyer
hair.
tax credit. Can we expect the president to push for that in not the American Rescue Plan, but the recovery plan that's to come shortly afterwards?
Well, Our focus right now is on getting the American Rescue Plan through.
They're
We
talking
expect
about the
House
next
to pass it this
recovery
weekend,
plan
and then it'll go
already.
to the Senate. As we've been talking about a little bit here, there'll
Jesus
be a
Christ.
robust
Why stop the
discussion about,
printers? Why even
members'
stop
views
them?
on different
Just
components
fucking
of it. I don't expect we're going to
send a
preview
printer to
or,
every American.
make,
Why
even
don't
make
you? You know
necessarily
what I
final
mean?
decisions on what comes after. But as you noted, there are a number of components of the
Just
bill
go ahead,
that
make
are
whatever you
agenda that the
need. We'll
president talked
fucking
about
square
on
up
the
later.
campaign trail. Obviously, home ownership, caregiving, infrastructure, strengthening access to affordable health care. Those are all components that are under
It's a
discussion.
good thing we got all that
The order,
credit
the
with
size,
Boeing
the
and Lockheed
timeline,
Martin
that's what has not been determined at this point.
and Raytheon.
Jake Sullivan's been expressing some concerns about the World Health Organization's latest assessment, specifically because China has not really handed over any of its data from the early months.
It's a good thing we re-entered the WHO.
On a U.S.-led assessment, like Sullivan's been suggesting.
There's that
Or
plateau.
perhaps some details on how we can force the world community to
just trust the narrative. Believe the narrative.
Well, you're right that
is the
one of the
narrative.
concerns
We
that
have
we've
all
expressed for
the
years is
world's
lack of data
best
sharing. We've not seen
scientists
the
looking
initial
at
data or the
this.
base of data that the report has been based on, and we have concerns and questions about the process used to reach the final conclusions. What we've been calling for and will continue to advocate for is an open, transparent international organization led by the World, investigation led by the World Health Organization, and certainly getting to the bottom of what happened here.
Didn't that already happen? Did they just do this?
Is a topic of conversation and
China
a
won't
range
tell
of
them
conversations
anything.
the president has, the Secretary of State, our National Security Advisor Jake
They
Sullivan
said
has.
we never
and I
tested
expect
on
those
bats in
will
this
continue.
facility, and then they found bat cages.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Matt Pottinger from
They said, "Oh no, those are just for the Muslim
Oh
kids."
no 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 no! Those are for squirrels.
Originated from a research facility in Wuhan.
There are no squirrels
We know
in China.
President Biden on whether or not gain of function research facilities. Like
See, the
Wuhan
cages worked.
zoology should be eligible
Fences,
for US
cages.
funding. They currently are, even though they're not
Ever
slated
since
to,
time
receive
immemorial.
in the near future.
Again, there'll be, we support a robust international investigation. We also have taken steps under
She's
the
using.
State Department
She's good at
to
using
ensure we
really
have
good
full staffing in
descriptor
our
words.
Beijing,
Not as good as Trump
our
was.
Beijing
But
embassy to ensure we have eyes and ears on the ground.
she's good at that, and
As
she's
you
good
noted,
at
there's no
saying that
funding,
you need to talk
anticipated
to
or
somebody
planned,
else at some
to
other
go to
department,
that
like a really
facility,
bad
at this point in
telephone
time, so I don't
operator.
have any
Last one, sorry, on coronavirus.
Okay.
This is like the
Johnson &
ultimate
Johnson
customer
CEO Alex
service
Worsing
job,
has suggested
and
that
she's
people will
horrible
need a
at
yearly
it.
coronavirus
She's
vaccine
she's the
booster.
type of customer
You know, Dr.
service that
Fauci
just
or any
leaves you
medical
angry
experts
with a
agree with
broken
assessment.
phone.
And then if that's the case,
She needs
would
to
the
be
government
outsourced to India.
shift
Yeah,
the,
for real.
the purchasing responsibility to American citizens after this first round this summer, or is there a timeline on that?
Well, the FDA has talked about research and work they're doing on boosters, and some of that comes is related to variants and addressing variants and needs they may have in the future. But in
Don't
terms
worry,
of what
we
is
got
next, I think we're
vaccines
focused
on
now on
tap.
first getting 300 million Americans vaccinated.
Shots in the
and
arm,
then,
you forgot.
any guidelines on whether a booster will be needed, the timeline of it, we would certainly defer to health and medical experts. Go ahead.
Jen, thank you for taking so many questions. I'd like to quickly hit on
Thanks
three
for
points.
avoiding so
Yesterday,
many
the White House
questions.
publicly confirmed that,
Speaking on
President
that, though,
Biden had,
the White House
mandated,
press office says it'll
full
start charging
visibility on
journalists for
potential drone strikes
coronavirus tests,
overseas. This
which
sounds
are
like a
required for
potential,
entry.
Or it sounds like a resumption of the
Beautiful.
Obama era so-called kill list policy. I was hoping that you could tell us what President Biden sees as his guiding principles on deciding whether to
Profits,
allow
baby.
strike or not.
Coronavirus means
I don't think
profits,
I have anything
like all
for you on
wars,
that from the
Yep.
podium.
like all.
A question on New York. I'd
World
like to
events.
confirm that President Biden intends to pick his own 4 appointees for U.S. attorneys' offices, that he intends to do all 4 of them and not leave off the Southern District.
That he intends to nominate.
People for each of the 4 U.S. attorney slots in New York.
I don't have anything for you either.
It's like,
on
I didn't
kind of
even know there were
upcoming
4. Shit.
personnel announcements. Obviously, there was an announcement made just last week or the week before about U.S. attorneys, and that went through a normal process. But I can certainly.
She's only
talk to
been there
our,
for 3 weeks.
personnel
What does she
team and see
mean
what's
last
going
week or the week before?
Another one, one of the focuses on the Hill today is on the Capitol riot.
This is going to be a
And I'd like
rough
to follow
4
up on
years
that.
for
There's
her.
been some talk about the potential need
She
for
can't
greater
even keep
surveillance of
the last
domestic
3 weeks
threats.
straight.
After 9/11, of course, the government.
I don't think she's going to be doing this very much longer.
No, she's going to fail up.
Records. Is the Biden administration committed to?
She's going to end up a deputy secretary of fucking schmooze.
I think the president's spoken to this in the past, including when he was vice president. Our focus right now is on, of course, supporting the hearings that are happening on the Hill, and we will remain engaged with members of Congress about
guarded under
to address
threat of
gaps
lethal
and
force
to prevent it from happening in the future. We also have a process that's underway and a review from our national security team on domestic violent extremism. And when that process is concluded, I'm sure there will be recommendations made on policies that should be put into place.
That's when we're going to find out about anti-government extremists.
Domestic threats.
That's when we're going to find out that everybody's not so different after all. At least not in the eyes of this government.
Go ahead in the back.
Or any government.
So much. I have a couple questions. The first is, over the last few months, we've seen reports that say that people outside of Black and Hispanic and vulnerable communities have been able to access the vaccines in those communities. In California, there are wealthy residents who are using access codes. In New York, we're seeing that happen. What's the White House's plan for stopping this, and why is it still happening? This is now.
Where's your evidence? Because where's the evidence that this is happening?
Where's your governor?
Well, and I think one of the reports I saw was around some of the mass vaccination sites in Oakland and the concerns about whether people in the community were actually getting access to the vaccines as planned. I don't have.
Well, Joe Biden's already said that those people, those Black and brown people, can't use the computer.
During one of their three
right, Joe Biden's going to order a
study
study on this
behind it beyond the
within the next
anecdotal
100
stories,
days.
which alone are certainly concerning. But one of the pieces the president has been talking about, and our team has been focused on, is the fact that if you don't have internet access, right? If you don't have access to ways to easily sign up to get your vaccine, we need to continue to look for ways to get deep into communities.
What about their Obama phone?
That the president has been so supportive of.
Joe's gonna have to send out new Obama phones.
Embedded in communities, know the people in the communities.
She's trying to say Black people don't have internet.
Outreach to people they know will need the vaccine.
Well, fuck it, make internet free.
But we also need to continue to find ways to reach people who don't have internet access, who may not have the ability to sign up.
Remember how I was telling you about those poor broke
some of those discrepancies.
white kids in West Virginia? You think she's talking about them?
And as you know, we have an entire task force focusing on addressing inequities in how we address COVID, and they're continuing.
I don't think
for
she
more
is.
Ways to creatively do that and effectively address problems that are
Or Asian, for that matter.
Clarify on that point. There's a team that's working specifically on trying to stop wealthy residents or people from.
No, I think what I was conveying is, as you know,
wealthy
there is
residents don't deserve to live. Is that what you're saying?
The COVID team led by Dr. Marcella Nunez-Smith, and obviously reports that
Welcome to America.
Who are
People
not,
with money
from the
are going to
community
bribe their way
tended
through
to,
shit.
Exactly.
Be the primary recipients
Surprise,
of the vaccines.
surprise.
If that is certainly something they would focus on and work on issues to address. I would encourage you to ask them about that at the next.
I could understand how bribing your way to a vaccine would be a problem, but just being rich shouldn't disqualify you from getting a life-saving treatment, should it?
Days after the hearing, whether or not there's any update on that, given that the president has said that he would back a study on reparations.
So you certainly would back a study. I don't think anything's changed, though, from what I conveyed a couple of days ago.
Saying he would sign the bill.
I said he would support a study, and he certainly would. We'll take a look if there's legislation that.
I said he would support a study.
At the joint hearing today on the House on the attack,
And he would.
On the Capitol, there was an
So you're
officer,
done.
Captain Mendoza, who said she still has chemical burns on her face and hasn't fully healed from that attack. I wonder if the White House is considering any sort of effort or any sort of fund or any sort of help to officers and others who are still recovering from their injuries.
They got workman's comp.
That's certainly something we'd be happy to have a discussion with members of Congress on, and I know they have also expressed.
You know how hard they fought to fucking give relief to the victims of 9/11? Again, welcome to the game.
Of course, some made, but also those who have been injured in the events of January 6th, and we're certainly open to having that conversation.
More on sexual assault, and the Pentagon says this week they'll announce the naming of a commission on sexual assault in the military. Senator Gillibrand and others have
TJ
both written to
Ducklo
the
won't be a
president
part of
saying
it.
that this needs to be an independent commission that's outside of the DoD. I'm wondering if the president is planning on appointing anyone to that commission, if he's been briefed on this issue, and if that thought of it being set up outside of the Defense Department is top of mind.
It's certainly an issue that he has thought about, talked about, engaged with policy experts internally on, and including with Secretary Austin. I know during the transition and probably since then, but I don't have anything more for you on kind of the format of it. I think right now it's under the purview of the Department of Defense, hence why they discussed the issue. Thanks, everyone.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Biden supports a lot of studies.
He doesn't. It's kind of ironic because he doesn't seem like the studying type to me.
Yeah, she
like
can verify that he talks about all these various subjects. I don't think he knows about any of this shit. Or, I mean, or is he just that scatterbrained? He's so worried about all these millions of fucking things, but not really fully understanding any of it.
Zero of it. Exactly zero of
Good
it.
afternoon.
He doesn't remember anything. I don't think he even knows what the words mean. You know what I mean? He's just reading the script, repeating the words that are being fed into his ear hole.
Salute the troops.
Right. Kamala Harris reminded him to put a mask on earlier today. He's standing across from a doctor and standing across from Dr. Fauci. And then he turns around and looks at Kamala, and you see that she says something under her mask, and he turns around immediately and he's like, "Oh, my mask," and goes to the podium and grabs it. Just fumbly bumbly old Joe.
I wonder if she whispered anything to him about not including her on the bombing of Syria.
Yeah. I'm sure there were a bunch of motherfuckers under her breath today.
She called Obama. I wonder if she called Obama to have a conversation about it.
Barack, you better tell your boy.
Afternoon.
All right. This is
Well, we are
2 days
very
ago?
excited that later today, the president will sign an executive order that takes
a new one.
approach to securing critical U.S. supply chains, ensuring we can withstand crises and create good-paying jobs in the process. The COVID-19 pandemic has underlined the need for resilient supply chains and robust domestic manufacturing, so all Americans have access to essential goods and services in times of crisis. The EO will direct immediate 100-day reviews of supply chains for critical products that go into everything from phones to pharmaceuticals. It will also direct reviews of industrial-based sectors, including defense, public health and biological.
More studies?
Information and communications technology, transportation, energy, and food production. This is an issue with strong bipartisan support.
I bet you the price
Later
for
this
these
afternoon, the
studies
president will
went
name
up
the bipartisan
dramatically
group of House
this
and
year
Senate
too.
members
How much
to
was
like-
that?
discuss supply
Yeah,
chain
science is
resilience
getting a
and the
bailout,
need
it
to
seems
work
like.
together and strengthening it.
Who's
We'll
conducting
provide
these
you all a
fucking
list of
studies?
that later this afternoon as it's finalized. Joining us today
Well,
to
we
talk
are,
through
of
the
course.
details of the executive order are Deputy Director of the National Economic Council, Samira Fazili. I may have butchered your last name, as mine is butchered sometimes. I'll keep working on it. And Senior Director of International Economics and Competitiveness at the NSC, Peter Harrell. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see if we have time to take a couple questions. They have good reason. They have to go see the president shortly. Okay.
Not good enough. He's got nothing good to say. Don't worry about it.
Thank you very much, Jen, and thanks to all of you. It's a privilege for me to be here. As Jen said, this afternoon, the president will sign an
This
executive
guy.
order that takes
Yeah.
a critical step in ensuring that America's supply chains
This guy
can
looks like a
withstand any
fucking
crisis,
character.
as
Yep.
well as supporting
Take
jobs
another
across
bump.
the country. Last year, in the early months of the pandemic, frontline healthcare workers couldn't find the masks, gloves, and PPE that they needed to keep themselves safe as they treated COVID-19 patients. Today, automakers across the country
Did he
are
say
having to take
created?
workers off
Yep,
factory
Created
lines
COVID
because
patients?
they can't get
Yep.
access to enough computer chips to maintain full production.
Sounded
Last
like it to
July,
me too.
President Biden committed that as president, he would direct his administration to take a comprehensive approach to securing America's supply chains. He said then, and he will reiterate later today, that America should never face shortages of critical products in times of crisis. Our supply chain should not be vulnerable to manipulation by competitor nations. The EO that the president will sign later today formally launches the initiative
Non-Chinese
President Biden
competitors.
committed to last year to build strong and resilient supply chains. This is the first whole of government approach to promoting the resilience of America's supply chains from pharmaceuticals to foods. We are going to get out of the business of reacting to supply chain crises as they arise and get into the business of preventing future supply chain problems. As Jen said, the EO the president will sign
This
will
just
direct
means
immediate
government
100-day
reach.
reviews of supply chains for 4 critical
The government
products.
has the vaccines and the
Computer chips
government
for
has the
everything
food.
from cars to
Yep.
phones,
I'm from the
large capacity
government,
batteries,
and I'm here to
such as
help.
those used in electric cars, so that America leads in making next generation electric vehicles, pharmaceuticals and active pharmaceutical ingredients, the key ingredients to American medicines.
Sounds like a couple of
and
minimum
critical
wage
minerals
jobs are being
and
created.
strategic materials
We don't
such as
get those
rare earth
ingredients here in
minerals
America. I
that are
just want to point
essential
that
to
out. Those
American
pharmaceutical
industry and to
ingredients,
America's defense base.
those come from
The
minerals
EO
and
will also direct
rainforests and
6
jungles around the
sector-specific
world.
reviews to
No,
be
that's the
completed
thing
within
about
1 year of
socialists and
today to
communists
be
and
focused on defense, public
progressives.
health, and
They don't
biological
understand
preparedness, information and communications
natural
technology,
resources, that
transportation,
things-
energy, and food production.
Things are
These
made of
sectoral
other
reviews will
things
be
most
modeled
times.
after the process
They
that
don't
the
understand
Defense
that.
Department uses
Yeah, no
to
shit, right?
regularly evaluate and strengthen
They
America's
think they
defense
just go in there and they fucking
industrial
bring
base.
their Harry
Make
Potter
no
magic
mistake,
wand and it just
we are not
appears
simply planning to
with a
order up
spell.
reports. We are going to be taking actions to close gaps.
Nope. And most
as
of the
we
time, some
identify
poor
them,
soul has
just
to
as
assemble
we've been
these
working
things.
with industry in recent weeks to ensure that U.S. automobile
Little
manufacturers
did they
have the
know
parts
the whole
they
time
need to keep
they were
making
that
cars
poor
here
soul.
in America. But we expect that by taking this type of comprehensive approach to supply chain resilience, we'll be able to strengthen our supply chains for the long term.
What did he do though?
And with that, I'm happy to turn this over to my
He
friend
said,
and colleague, Samir.
yada, 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 America's supply chains, got to make them stronger, no competitors. Okay, back to you.
Thank you, Peter.
We're announcing a study.
Creating more resilient supply chains is an opportunity for our country to come together to create well-paying jobs for workers across our country.
But for who?
That is
Because like
why
supply
today's
chains, it's going to
action
be.
reinforces the president's overarching
We got
commitment
self-driving
to
trucks. I'm
help our
sure the
country
trains
build
will be
back
driving
better.
themselves soon.
We know that even
So
before the
jobs
COVID
for
crisis,
who?
the economy was
Just
not
more
working
federal
for most
regulators to
Worker pay was
overlook
too
and
low.
oversee
Many families could not make ends
everything.
meet. Many of the
Oh,
jobs
so more of those
at
minimum
the heart
wage
of the middle
jobs?
class
Yep,
have been
more
lost
of
due to
those
changes in both technology
$11 an
and the
hour
structure of
jobs
the workforce.
Biden's talking about.
Disruption is
Oh,
inevitable.
Jesus Christ.
Over the past few years, we have moved from crisis to crisis when some essential product was suddenly in short supply. What we need is
I don't know if people out there know this, but
when hit by
the minimum wage can
This
be
executive
changed
order
in your
moves the
state
whole government
and your
towards being
city
more prepared.
and your
These
fucking
sector-specific
county.
reviews that the
It can be
president orders
changed on the
today,
local
we're gonna
level
be asking agencies to do the
everywhere.
following.
So go
They're
ahead
gonna
and call
review
your
risks in
local
supply chains and
politician.
in our domestic
Stop
industrial
worrying about
base. They're gonna
national
think
fucking
broadly
minimum
about risk.
wage.
There's climate risk and geopolitical risk, but there's also risk in not having enough workers ready to meet the needs of that sector, or enough factories.
If Nebraska isn't paying enough
good
minimum
tool
wage,
shift
guess
to
what?
shift to a new
People
spike
will
in demand
leave
for an essential
Nebraska. You know what I'm
They're going to
saying?
be recommending actions to improve
It should work.
resiliency.
And
In some
peeps.
instances, that action might be the data that government can publish, and so the
That's
private
why you
sector
have to
can
make
plan
sure your
and
skills
mobilize and
are
take
in
action.
demand.
But in other instances, we
That's
have
what they
levers
don't
like
teach you in school
procurement
that they
authority we can
should.
use to support stockpiling or support some level of domestic production. We are also going to be looking for opportunities to
Your
work with Congress to
interpretive
give us
dance
more
degree
tools
is
so
not
that
in
we
high
can
demand.
increase preparedness.
Supply and
Today's
demand is the white
conversation
devil.
with members of Congress
Yep.
is going to be
It's
part of an
whiteness.
ongoing conversation we've been having with them on this. Finally,
Numbers
a
and
big
weights
part
and measures
of
and
this
such.
executive order is
Somebody tell the
consultation
Jews
with state
they're white
mechanisms.
supremacists.
We are going to be reaching out to talk to the American people. Government action alone will not solve
Who's gonna tell them?
broad conversations that will include business, labor, local
I got it.
communities.
Candace
academia.
Owens.
This work is going to require a new commitment.
She's going to be the one to break the news to the Jews.
We need all voices at that table to help us design those partnerships. This is a real opportunity to invest in the future of America and build on our nation's strengths. There are opportunities for small business development to help diversify supplier networks and alleviate the risk of too big to fail companies in the supply chains for critical goods. There are opportunities to improve worker readiness.
Isn't
and
that
training
mascara
so
that
they have
she's
the skills
wearing
needed to ramp up
sort of
research,
counterproductive to
production,
the
and
headdress and the long sleeves and the,
And there are opportunities to bring
you know,
more
the whole
jobs to
Muslim thing
communities
she's got
around the
going?
country, including communities of color, to leverage the ingenuity
I
and
don't
grit
think
of the
they
American.
think that far into it.
This is going to leverage
Yeah, I don't think
neuroscience
so
into
either.
leadership to further advance our research and development process.
Like it's more like
We
tradition.
will do so while also recognizing that our ability to maintain our innovative edge in research requires us to invest
So some
in
people
both
do get to
research
keep their
and
traditions. That's
manufacturing
good.
in communities across America.
Well,
When you pair thinkers and
it's
doers,
kind of
that's how you
understandable. It's
create the
like
technologies and
I'm a
products that
Catholic
help
and
us
I eat
tackle
shellfish.
tomorrow's challenges. I want to reiterate what my colleagues have said. This work is
Shit,
not going to
shellfish
be
are
about
delicious.
America going it alone.
I know.
The answer to these
I love
weaknesses
them.
is not always to be to ramp up domestic production.
There's a lot
We
of things
know
in the
these
Bible that are
vulnerabilities affect not just
against
American
the
households,
rule
it's a
of
global
God
problem in
that
some
are
of these supply chains.
completely
We are
acceptable
committed
these
to
days,
working
though.
with
So
partners and allies to reduce these
can't really judge
vulnerabilities
people on
that
their
are affecting
beliefs.
all of us. The work ahead
Not
builds
anymore,
upon
anyway.
America's historic legacy
I'm a big fan of the rule of
making
thumb.
strategic investments in our future
Whatever happened to
that
the
lay
good old days
foundation
when
of
we could
broad-based
judge people?
economic growth. Smart investments in research, manufacturing,
You know what I
domestic
mean?
capacity, and our workforce
Like
has
everybody's
in the
judging
past
you.
unleashed
Don't.
decades of
Everybody's
economic
lying to you
expansion, an
and
expansion
judging
that
you
raised
at all
wages and
times.
living
Period.
standards for
No ifs,
American
ands, or
families
buts.
across
Just
the country.
like
We can and
resign
should
yourself
build
to
upon
those
that
facts. You
legacy,
know what I
and
mean?
that is how we will approach this supply chain work.
What up,
This
Marville?
problem was decades in the making. We can solve it by making
Welcome to
smart
the stream, brother.
investments that are long-term in nature, that reach families and
Welcome,
workers
welcome.
in all of America.
Smoke if you got them.
Hey, see if we can take the questions. Go ahead.
Here we go.
Thanks,
Question
Jen.
time. This is the good part.
Presidents for decades have been promising to create factory jobs. We've got about 12.
Where the fuck are they?
Factory jobs. That's down from 17 billion in 2000. How many
Down
jobs do
from
you think this
2000,
initiative can
obviously.
create? And what are your metrics of success?
Done. Next question.
Pandemic?
We actually have the most diverse team in the history of diversity and teams.
I think we think it's important to have a broad
We
lens
think
and
it's
broad
important.
view
That's not the way
on
to start a sentence.
how you measure the jobs and the job creation in the manufacturing space, because manufacturing is not doesn't just support and create jobs in the manufacturing sector. There are broad spillover effects that it has. There are going to be R&D jobs here, research jobs here. There's going to be jobs in the kind of supplier networks in the services industry. So I think we have to start
Not
tracking and
$11
understanding
minimum
that
wage jobs.
manufacturing's
Just
For the
contribution
record.
to our economy
fucking
can't just
supply
be
chain
measured
overhaul,
Should I
but
suggest?
the supply chain works fine.
When you talk
You know what
about
I mean?
incentivizing
When there's
and
not
funding
a
on the
government
budget
imposed
your
shutdown,
upcoming budget, do you think that you will propose
everything's
some sort
good.
of federal funding to help increase the supply of semiconductors?
You know, we are still in the process of formulating the budget. So at this time, I'm not able to talk in specifics about the budget proposal. But what I would say is we are looking forward to talking with members of Congress about what more we can do.
So why were you even here? Why wouldn't you come talk to us when you were fucking prepared? Why even come in here incorrect like
Step
this?
back for for a moment. Obviously, we're talking about multiple different supply chains here.
This
I
guy
think
can't
the
wait to get back to the
solutions
bathroom.
we will be proposing and implementing will vary a little bit by supply chain. You know, the supply chain for
He's like, I got this, I
semiconductors
got this,
obviously
I got
looks
this,
quite
I got
different from
this.
the supply chain for rare earths. So I think what you're
Leave
going
it
to
to me, I
see
got this.
is us come forward with a comprehensive suite of recommendations that
I wish
will
we could
be tailored
see
for each of the
what
different
he's doing
critical
when
goods
she's
that you're
on
looking
camera.
at.
He's just fucking not sitting still, foot just fucking tapping. Yeah.
Production here, looking at ways to ensure there's surge capacity available for things that might need to be ramped up.
Oh, he just took a
quickly,
deep,
stockpiling,
deep
working
nice
with our,
little inhale.
allies and
He's
partners to make sure
figuring
that
her
we
out.
He's
have,
like, God damn, Hunter's got good
cross-border,
coke.
open flows with our allies and partners where we might collectively need to take some action. So I
Good
think we're really going
strippers,
to be
too.
looking at a range of different tools here, not just any particular single tool.
Defense Production Act, would you think that the White House would consider using the Defense Production Act for specifically for the semiconductors?
I don't think we're here to talk
Semiconductors,
about
huh?
how we would use the DPA on any particular supply chain at this point, but clearly, as we look at making resilient supply chains across the board,
That's what they're
all
talking
tools
about is
are on the table for
semiconductor
this
supply chains.
And then on Taiwan, can you say, how has Taiwan
How long
reacted
until
to
it
some
gets
of your
blown
requests
up?
for assistance on this? Have they been receptive to your pleas for help on boosting the supply?
Are they receptive to being taken over by China soon?
I don't want to get into the nuances of specific diplomatic conversations we have had. Clearly, Taiwan is an important partner of the United States, and we've had constructive conversations with them.
I'm sorry. we have
Through an
to
interpreter,
let
of
them go,
course.
But I know there's
Yep.
a lot of interest in this, and what we can do follow-up.
But
questions
Taiwan
after
could be
this
just
call.
as
But
much
thank
of an
you both so
ally
much for
if
joining
it's
us at the briefing, and
Taiwan.
welcome back anytime.
Get the fuck out of here, guys.
Okay, I just have a couple of additional items at the top. As you heard in our COVID public health briefing just a few minutes ago, starting next month, we will begin to deliver millions of masks to food banks and community health centers around the country.
Oh, isn't that
These are
nice?
2 nationwide networks that disproportionately serve hard-hit populations. Today, many low-income Americans still lack access to this basic protection. That's why we're taking
Access
this
to
thoughtful and
masks.
targeted action to keep Americans safe. We will deliver more than 25 million masks across the country. These
Maybe you should
masks
cut
will
the
be
people some
available at
checks.
homes.
They
I'm
could
sorry, at
purchase
more
some
than
masks.
1,300 community health centers and around 60,000 food pantries. Any American
So
who
they're
needs a
sending
mask will be able
masks.
to walk into these health centers or food
25
pantries
million
and pick up
masks all
a
around the country.
high-quality American-made mask that is consistent with CDC guidance. This program is made
A
possible
high quality
through
American made
existing
mask
funding
made by
and
machines.
With
and with this
CDC
action, we
guidance,
are
does that
hoping to
mean there's
level the playing
3 in
field,
every
giving
pack
vulnerable populations
to
quality,
wear all at the
well-fitting
same time?
masks. A couple other things. I know lots going on today. I wanted to make sure
3
you saw
masks,
a
it's
letter
one
released
use.
this morning by
Yep,
over
they're all sewn
160
together. 3
CEOs
different masks,
representing some of
all the
America's
same.
biggest and most represented respected companies, calling on Congress to act on the president's rescue plan. There's growing consensus across the country for this package, and that's reflected in polling showing a bipartisan majority of Americans backing it. As the more than
Haven't seen it.
160 business leaders put in their letter to congressional leaders, previous federal relief measures have been essential. but
Anybody
more
that
must
I
be
know
done to put the
doesn't
country
back
on the
that.
trajectory for a strong
Because I don't know anybody that's profiting
recovery.
exponentially
Also,
from
a
it.
winter storm update.
Marva Man
Temperatures are back
says, good
within
to have
normal
White House
ranges for this
briefings
time of
again
year
since
across
we
the
had an
states that
almost
have been impacted
300
by
day
the storm.
shutout
That's, of
in the
course, good
previous
news. But
administration.
water system outages
No, there was
and
there
boil
was a,
water advisories,
Trump was
although
on
improving,
TV almost
remain
every
an
day at the
ongoing issue
beginning of the
across the
COVID
region,
thing. They
requiring
actually
additional
stopped
federal
airing him
support.
because he was starting to
Delayed
gain
shipments
points.
of COVID-19 vaccine doses are anticipated to be
Kayleigh
filled in the coming
McEnany was
days,
a
as we
killer. She
noted
was out there
last
every
week,
couple
and
days.
vaccination sites have reopened
Even the
and
other
are
ones,
doubling up
Huckabee
appointments to
Sanders and
accommodate those canceled
the
last
guy
week.
that I don't
All major
remember.
airports
They
are
were out
Yeah,
there
if,
open.
on,
All
all the
rail
if only that
carriers
was
have
true, though,
returned to
because
normal
this isn't from
operations.
today. This is one
Interstate and
that we
state
missed.
highways are open,
Yeah.
And
agencies
Biden
are
dropped
returning to
bombs
normal
on Syria
operations,
yesterday, and
and
there is
ports
no
are
press
operating
briefing today.
under normal
Yeah,
circumstances. Federal
exactly.
assistance
Yeah, I didn't even think about
continues.
that. That's a
We
great
noted
point,
the
right?
additional 31 counties yesterday,
That's
and of
very
course,
true. There
we'll
was no
continue to
press briefing
consider
today
additional requests moving forward.
because they dropped bombs on
Finally,
Syria yesterday.
to remain transparent with you and the American people, we wanted to share that the president tested negative for COVID-19 on Monday. We will venture to provide this update the following day in the future. But this is part of our regular COVID safety protocols that I mentioned a couple of
check
weeks
my
ago.
stats.
The entire White House complex, as you know,
Yeah,
continues to
300.
adhere to strict
The media
mask
didn't
wearing,
cover
social
a lot of
distancing,
it,
and
but
other
they were
mitigation
out there.
strategies.
Like this,
Okay,
I'm
sorry,
on
a few things at the top. Go ahead.
whitehouse.gov right now
Thanks, Jen.
to get
On the
these.
masks,
Even,
any
they
sense
don't
of
air
why the
these
White
on
House
regular
is using
TV.
cloth masks instead of N95s, which are also made in America, and we have supplies. And you have a list of manufacturers of the masks?
Sure. Well, I would say that
Of
these
no,
masks
but when you
these
say no
masks are all,
White House
adhere
briefings,
to CDC guidelines,
did Donald
and
Trump give
certainly
an
they meet
interview?
those
Did he
requirements
talk
set
to the
by our
press
federal
in those
standard.
300 days?
And just tell me
Because
your second question again.
what good is a
A
White
list of the
House briefing
manufacturers
if you
of the
talk to the
masks.
I don't have a
president
list
today?
of those. I can see
You
if
know
there's
what I
more details
mean?
we can provide.
When was the last time Joe Biden
Separately,
just stopped and
Vladimir
answered
Putin
any
said
questions
today
from
that
anybody
Russia
in the
could
media?
redouble its efforts on
That hasn't
opposing
happened
foreign
yet.
powers who he says
I haven't seen it yet.
to undermine Russia. Does the White House believe that tensions with Russia are increasing?
Well, we believe
I don't
that
know.
certainly
What do you
over the
think about him
last,
calling
several years, there
Putin
have been
before he
more
bombed Syria? What does that tell you?
communication
They're
by
probably not too bad.
members of the Kremlin, as the president has expressed during the campaign. And that is why he.
I don't think Putin has any hard feelings at all about Biden calling him, a threat to American prosperity or any of that shit. One, because it's probably true, and two, because this is all just the narrative.
The bounties on
Is it
our troops, that
narrative?
was of concern. Of course, the
And Putin works the narrative to his own benefit as well.
To take a close look at that, so we have our own assessment. As you know, the president also spoke.
I'm sure
with
he's
President
profiting
Putin
all the
just
same over
2
there.
weeks ago, and did not hold back in expressing his
Yeah, Marlboro man.
concerns about
Anytime
the
if you want to
actions
jump on
of
panel
his
and bullshit
government.
with us, man,
But
you're more
we
than
are letting
welcome.
that process see itself through. As I noted yesterday, it will be weeks, not months, before it's
I'll
concluded.
throw out an
and we have
invite
more
whenever
details
you
on how
want.
to respond. Go ahead.
Thank you. So just wanted to see if you could confirm that the president is speaking with King Salman of Saudi Arabia today, and if he'll do that in advance of the report on Khashoggi.
Well, as we've noted in the past, we remain committed to releasing through the DNI, of course, an unclassified report that we expect to happen soon. I don't have an updated timeline for you on that. I know there were also
All
reports
right.
on a
Marlboro man
proposed
says-
call. We also expect that to happen soon. We're still in the process of scheduling when that will happen.
He says Trump didn't answer shit but brag about bloated stats that didn't exist when he was doing those interviews, the press gaggles, when he was literally talking to the press on a daily basis. My point was that you said 300 plus days without a White House press briefing. What I'm saying is that he talked to the press on a daily basis. So what's the use of a White House press briefing if they're literally asking the president? I mean, you could just rest assured that what the president says, that's the stance of the White House. It should be. But I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. Just don't know better. Right on. Yeah, it's all good. I know that we don't agree on a lot politically, even though you're not a crazy leftist like a lot of them. It'd be good to have a different point of view every now and again.
Oh, you'd think the
What are they going to be talking
the
about?
Marlboro man would be a spitting American.
Well, when we have the call and the president has the call, I'm sure we'll do a readout of it. Of course, we've had engagements at many levels with the Saudis to date, but we'll do a readout once we conclude the call.
You have a status update on Nira Tandon with all of the delays on Capitol
It's
Hill
funny
as
they were
far as
talking
her,
about the Ben Salman meeting that
Tell
he
me more
had
about
today.
what you mean by that.
an update
Because
as far as whether you're
today
going to withdraw
Joe Biden
that
came
name.
out, or the State
It
Department, I
doesn't seem
believe,
like the
came out
votes
and
are
said
there
that
for her at this
the
point.
Crown Prince of Saudi
Let me
Arabia
first state that
is
as the
responsible
president,
for
repeated
Jamal
yesterday,
Khashoggi's
we're
murder,
fighting for her
but they're not
nomination,
going to
and
sanction
she
him.
and our team remain in close contact and close touch with senators.
So
and
they're
key
not going to
constituency
sanction
groups.
the
She is an
murder
expert. His
of a
qualifications are
press
critical
member,
during this
but they
time
are
of an
sanctioning
unprecedented
Russia.
crisis. And she has rolled up her sleeves. She's very engaged in doing outreach to senators, to members on the Hill,
fully
answering
believe
any
in the
questions
Second
they have and
Amendment.
offering to do
All
that. And
right.
we're doing the same. I know there was
One
an
for the
announcement
good
about a
guys.
delay of a confirmation vote today, and they put out a statement to make clear that, of course, they're going to do due diligence, as are we, to
See how
continue
hard
that
they're pushing
outreach
this
and
Nira
continue to fight for her
Tandon?
nomination.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
forcing this broad down our
How
throats
big of a setback
for the
does
Office
White
of
House
Budget
view
Management.
the fact that
Like,
the Senate committees have
that's a
delayed
big
the
deal.
vote on her confirmation?
Well, it is when it
Again,
controls
they put
who
out a statement
what
from the
backdoor
leadership
deals
of the
Biden
committee
can make.
conveying
Yeah,
clearly
who gets
that
the
they
waivers on
wanted to
the
continue to do work
loyalty
to build
pledge?
support for her nomination.
See this as a setback to Nira Tandon's confirmation?
I wouldn't put it in those terms. I think we are committed to continuing to fight for all of our nominees, continuing to do the outreach needed to answer questions, to address concerns anyone has, to reiterate the qualifications of all of the nominees that the president has put forward, and to do due diligence in fighting for the team he's nominated.
Even if she is confirmed, does it undercut the president's budget agenda to have this confirmation delayed?
Well, as I noted a
Maybe
couple
a
of
little
times here,
bit.
but it's worth repeating. Neera Tanden has a record of working with people.
The
who
longer that
disagree
we
with her,
can take before
working
we
with,
actually have to start
people
getting
who,
shit done, the better.
Who have different
Yeah, right.
viewpoints and different objectives and priorities.
She
And
keeps
that's
saying
something
this
she would certainly
this
take into her
Neera
job if
woman
she's
worked with a
Just
bunch of
one
different
more,
people on a
Jen,
bunch of different things, but
Richard
she
Shelby
never
has said
talks
he would
about
support the
anything in
confirmation of
particular.
Shalonda Young. What is your reaction to that? Is she a potential replacement should Neera Tanden not follow through?
Well, there's one nominee to lead the budget department. Her name's Neera Tanden, and that's who we're continuing.
Rex Grossman is my quarterback.
Yep,
We
exactly.
are focused on fighting for the person the
Exactly.
president has nominated.
Go ahead, Caitlin. On Neera Tanden, one more follow-up.
On Neera Tanden, one more follow-up. Here, Marlboro says, I'm not the biggest fan of Biden either. Hate party affiliation because they represent us, not the party. Yeah, that politics in general don't represent us the way they should, period. They represent themselves and how to get ahead and whatever their own personal motivation is for being in Washington. You know what I mean? Me and Red were just talking about this before the stream, I think, right? We might have been on stream. I think it was on stream. We were just talking about this a little bit ago, Marlboro, man.
On that, has she offered to withdraw her nomination yet?
We are working in close touch with Neera Tanden and with members of Congress on continuing to
Trust
do the
us.
outreach
We've
and
talked to her.
engagement,
She's
to
talking
fight
to
for her
people.
confirmation. That's
Everybody's
what it is.
talking. We're trying to talk this out.
Whether she's offered to withdraw.
That's not the stage we're in, Caitlin. Where the stage we're in is working to.
The CNN scholar says she's
nomination.
offered to
And
withdraw.
As you know, it's a numbers game, right? It's a matter of getting
It's a
one
numbers
Republican
game.
to
It
support her
shouldn't be.
nomination. We're continuing to do that outreach, answer questions
It's not
they have,
really about numbers.
and
it's about
continue to
support.
reiterate her qualifications.
If
so
you
we
have
are-
power of the House and you can't
You said you're
get
still working on
somebody
scheduling it. Does
confirmed,
President Biden want the Saudi?
We are continuing to squeeze people and to force people to do our
President's
bidding.
intention,
Exactly.
as is the intention of this
Exactly.
government, is to recalibrate our engagement with Saudi Arabia and to have counterparts communicate with counterparts. And Prince Salman communicated with the Secretary of Defense. That's the appropriate line of communication, and the president will speak with the king at the appropriate time. It will be soon, and as soon as we have an update on that being finalized, and of course when it happens, we'll provide you all with a readout.
I know that they'll be speaking, but is he okay if he's on the call?
I would anticipate the call being directly with the king and a one-on-one call, or a call. Of course, it's those would be the primary participants.
Okay, my last question is on the Johnson & Johnson
like
vaccine as it's
Joe
moving
Biden
toward
doesn't speak
authorization.
Saudi
It looks like
Arabian,
Jeff
so
Zients, the coordinator, said today they believe they're going to have between 3 and 4 million to ship pending authorization. That was initially supposed to be much higher, according to the contract that Johnson & Johnson signed with the federal government, closer to 10 million, I believe, in February. So is President Biden disappointed that Johnson & Johnson is not going to have closer to 10 million vaccines ready to go if and when they get authorization?
Well, Caitlin, we were surprised to learn that Johnson & Johnson was behind on their manufacturing.
A massive cancer outbreak with their baby powder.
10 million, and now it's more like 3 to 4 million doses. That
we didn't know that they were
next week if they
short
are moved through
a
the
few
FDA
million
process, which is
doses.
not yet
They
concluded.
didn't tell
Just
us.
to note,
You paid them up
we're going to
front.
continue to work with them on
Johnson and Johnson
ensuring
not
that,
being upfront with people
that
for
can
profit.
be expedited.
Hmm.
So if the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is approved. Go ahead.
Hopefully it doesn't give you cancer like their baby powder did.
Is that the extent of the recalibration?
For sure. Johnson & Johnson's got a pretty bad track record. Marlboro Man says there's really no right answer. Just needs some common sense back in Washington, and not about who donated the most gets to push the agenda through to make the rich richer.
So the answer is stop being poor.
Yep.
Just be rich. You're in the club. You'll be fine.
Yep. Kick the door in.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa, whoa. The outside door, the porch. Yeah, we talked about this earlier, though. It's that just Washington as a whole, the politicians there, they represent themselves. And the only thing that The right answer is to go back to the basics, to go back to the foundation, the originalist aspect of the Constitution. We have to actually, honor, live up to the Constitution. It's our turn to live it. You know what I mean? It's not about what somebody else fought for and what gained and what they, people overseas have fought for us. It's we have to live it now. We have to fight for it, or else it's gonna be taken. Simple as that. The right answer is fight for what's yours.
Just having the president deal directly with King Salman. You say that MBS has been engaging with his counterpart at the Defense Department.
Mm-hmm.
If the U.S. government believes that Mohammed bin Salman was behind or in some way related to the death of Jamal Khashoggi, how can this administration continue to deal with it? And in what way do you intend to?
Well, I think we'll wait for the unclassified report to be released, which will be released through the DNI. And while I don't have an update on that, I expect that will be soon to speak further. And of course, when I talked about recalibration, I was referring to, of course, the counterpart to counterpart, because that was kind of how the question was posed. But, we always look, the president is taking a fresh approach to how he engages with foreign leaders around the world, and different from the prior administration. And that means he will not hold back.
That means
and he
he's
will
not
speak out
friends
when
with
there are
the
concerns he
Saudis.
has about
Not on
human
face
rights
value
abuses,
anyway.
about the lack of freedom of
Not
speech,
until
or the
the
lack of freedom of media and
down
expression,
payment for the
or
new
any
jets
concerns
get
he
here.
has. At the same time, we have a long relationship with Saudi Arabia. They are being attacked in the region, and that is certainly an area where we continue to work with them on. But I expect we'll have more to say when we get post the release of that report.
An unrelated question. What is this president's view toward the loyalty that teachers' unions should have towards students? This president is a strong supporter of unions, public sector unions. Is a teachers' union's obligation to the workers and their concerns about safety, or is a teachers' union obligation also to students?
Well, I can't speak to the obligations or I'm not a spokesperson for the teachers union. I'm a spokesperson for the president of the United States. So I can convey to you that his commitment is to the students and to the teachers and to the parents who want to have their kids back in school. And he wants to do that safely. And that's what his focus is on. And that's the role he can play from the federal government.
I'd help you guys, but I can't help everybody at the same time.
Just back on the Saudi issue, I understand that until you've had the conversation, you're not going to talk much about the policy implications. The president did have some things to say during the campaign. He said, we were in fact going to make them pay a price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are. And later he said there was little social redeeming value in the present government in Saudi Arabia. Any reason to believe his overall view of the Saudi government as a pariah and little redeeming social value has changed?
The president, as you well know, David, because you've probably been covering him
The
for a good
president
chunk
is
of this
interested
time,
in having enemies
had a
all
long,
over the world.
Time he spent in
As
the world of foreign
diverse as his
policy, and he is
administration.
certainly familiar with the leadership in Saudi Arabia, as he is in the Middle East and many parts of the world. And I would certainly not say his concerns or his views have changed. He is, of course, now president of the United States. And in that role, he is not going to hold back, as I noted, in speaking out when there are concerns. Of course, he has the right to take action of any kind as the president of the United States. But there are also areas where we will work with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on, including ensuring that they have the protections they need to face the threats that are facing them.
Well, a little more on this and following on how you sort of think about this. We have a pretty good idea of what's in the declassified report or when it comes out, because many elements of it leaked 2 years ago when it was first came out. If you come to the conclusion that there were any senior Saudi officials who were involved in the Khashoggi murder, would those officials be welcome to the United States? Could they conceivably be subject to criminal prosecution as accessories to a murder and thus not want to enter the United States?
I certainly understand the line of questioning, and I know there's an eagerness for the full report to be released. I'm not going to get ahead of the policy process or the release of that report, and you'll have to come back. Others will have to come back on the day after.
Everybody's coming back.
Or the days after, and we can discuss it further.
Maybe
go ahead.
one day I'll have
Oh, sorry,
answers
we'll
to
come
your
back
questions.
Bringing
Maybe
us-
one day they'll provide me with the right script. But all of my scripts seem to be 2 days behind.
Whether the
Just
president
make
has
sure you got
confidence
your
in Governor
COVID test
Andrew Cuomo,
cover.
given all the controversy surrounding the nursing home issues in New York during the pandemic. But more broadly, I'd like to ask if there are any lessons to be
Before we
learned
get into
here,
this, the other, the Cuomo broke a couple weeks ago. We covered it pretty extensively so far, but just today, it's starting to break about the other 3 governors that also had nursing home dictates enforced, with Gretchen Whitmer in New Jersey and California. Things seem to be heating up over this nursing home thing. Dominoes.
Serves them right.
Earlier, Dominoes.
Science, baby. Who'd have thought cramping a bunch of people up into a tiny little facility was going to result in deaths?
Yeah, right.
Science, baby.
Marlboro Man said the 80s during Reaganomics did away with the middle class and started to borrow from Social Security and not pay it back, but tell people Social Security is a handout after paying in their entire life. Well, I mean, obviously, that's kind of a simplistic view of it all. I mean, the 80s during Reaganomics, obviously, Reaganomics, trickle down. Everybody talks about trickle down. It doesn't really work. In theory, the rich people that are going to open businesses, they could probably use some help because those businesses are going to give people jobs. But it's, again, that's me way oversimplifying the idea. The whole borrow from the Social Security, that's fucking garbage. Social Security's been around since what, 35?
Yeah, I mean, but you're talking about too the like you opening up a mom and pop store, or not like Amazon opening up their next fucking warehouse. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Exactly.
a little bit of a difference there.
I'm not talking about government subsidy into the biggest fucking most rich people in the world. You know what I mean? I'm talking about government subsidy and neighborhood spending. You know what I mean? Local banks, local bank lending is what I'm talking about. But everybody has their own views on Reagan. Our problems didn't start in the 80s. You know what I mean? The 40s happened. The 60s happened.
Yep.
Start
the 80s was just more of the same.
Yeah. The trickle down. I agree that the trickle down never worked. It was never what it was supposed to be. There's way too many loopholes, man. And people, their career is to find the loophole. So what are you gonna do? You gotta close them or be smart about the way you write the rule. The problem is that the people we have writing the rules are not smart. The rich just got taxed less and kept more.
Yep,
you want to talk
for
about
sure.
now? Like now, that's happening more than ever before. Like right now, like right now. The U.S. started this entire deal in the Middle East during the Iran-Contra scandal days. Trained and gave weapons to fight Russia, and now we're fighting those same people we trained and armed. Yeah, I mean that's
how you have a forever war.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's oversimplifying it too. They were fighting Russia without us. You know what I mean? There was stuff going on in the Middle East without us there.
We just said, hey, man, there's money being made over there.
Yeah. Hey, man, they're fighting the people that we think want to kill us. Let's give them guns. Things are, especially on the world stage, are very complex, and to just, even now I have views on things where I could read a report that I'd never read or never heard of, and I could change my idea completely about how I feel about some situations in the Middle East. You know what I mean? It's just the way things go. I know that they've been fighting in the Middle East and the Holy Land since before time, before history. So
I wouldn't say they. I'd say we, people, humans,
yeah.
idiots, scum. We the scum.
Us, humanity. Since the 50s during Ike, I think. No, I think the 50s. The 50s is during Ike, yeah, and then what was it? The 60s with the 50s with the it was the 30s with the New Deal is when Social Security came into play, and then it was in the 50s and 60s when it kind of changed a little bit. That's where they actually started using it as a piggy bank, but they actually paid it back. Yeah, the income, Marlboro says the taxes we have today were supposed to end with World War II. It only started to fund World War II from what I know. Yeah, income taxes did, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the tolls on your road.
Exactly.
The tolls are only supposed to be to pay for the roads.
Federal income taxes have never literally, they've never been signed into legislation. It's just an agreement that citizens have with their government, apparently. But you're right.
Thanks, Walt Disney.
Yeah, thanks a lot, fucking mouse man. But yeah,
he got us with the duck that time. That one wasn't the mouse.
This is an argument I have with people a lot. Actually, it's pretty interesting that you brought it up though, in a roundabout way, because the income taxes were supposed to end with World War II being over. But if you think about it, before the income taxes, before it was a thing, we still had roads, we still had schools, we still had hospitals, we still had police stations, we still had fire departments. So what exactly is the money going to?
Bombs. La Bamba.
La Bamba.
And gender studies.
Payoffs and kickbacks.
Yep.
And circle back money. How much money do you think out of that 1.9 billion we sent, or was it million or billion? I think it was billion, right? 1.5 billion we sent to Pakistan for gender studies. How much of that money do you think ended up back in America after it got cycled? I'd say 3/4 of it.
I see. Probably the majority of it might have got spent on some OnlyFans accounts. So probably all of it. Whatever wasn't funneled back here and was left over there was spent on some OnlyFans. It all found its way back.
I guess it wasn't a lie. Studying genders. Marvel Man says the oil was the basis of all of it. Money, protect the source. Yeah. Yeah, of course. But I mean, yeah, anytime you could just look backwards and see what the fuck's, where it started, where the problem started. But we're here now. And now, if the petrodollar fails, the world fails. I don't think people understand this completely. Like if fossil fuels fall, if they go out, like snap of a finger, fossil fuels are gone, the world economy crumbles. All of it. It's all gone. Everything. So everybody that wants to get rid of fossil fuels within the next 9 years before the planet explodes, like AOC says, they're in for a rude awakening. Yeah, for Social Security.
If the planet blows up, won't it emit a ton of carbon?
Right? And that's why aliens never stopped here. They fly by and they're like, wow, these fucking idiots. They're the only carbon-based life form we've ever found that wants to outlaw carbon. We're not stopping here. These fucking ants. Barbara says for sure, just smaller government and less payback back then for Washington. Yeah, that's the thing. When you have people that make laws and you know, they've covered all the laws. We've had a couple 100 years of steady writing laws, and not once have we gone back and cleaned the books of old laws that don't fucking apply anymore. You know what I mean? Then it's just finding ways to rig the system like a ship. Marva Man said, imagine using the money that's used to get elected for helping the infrastructure and U.S. needs instead of yard signs and commercials.
What was that one clown that dropped out of the election that spent more money than in history on TV ads?
Yeah,
he could have gave what, everybody in America $1 million?
He paid what was it, like $50 million to be on one debate and get fucking humiliated. My thing is, Marvo, instead of thinking like, yeah, you're right, that campaign money is a problem, but that campaign money is supposed to be followed and looked at through a magnifying glass and a fine-tooth comb. But nobody's talking about the $1.9 billion that's just being passed right now. Nobody's talking about the $14 billion they just gave to the airplane companies. Nobody's talking about the $1.9 billion they gave to Pakistan for women's studies because of the coronavirus. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, yeah, you're right, but I think one's heavier than the other because they're directly giving our money away. The campaign money is supposed to be contributions. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to follow every dollar from where it came from in a campaign. I'm more concerned about where they're sending my money because I'm not sending these politicians my money. You know what I mean? I'm sending the government my money, and then they're sending it wherever the fuck they want, it seems like.
Well, we might have to wrap it up soon. I gotta hit the road shortly.
Yeah. You want to finish this up? You got 15 minutes?
I could probably squeeze in 15. Let's do it.
The administration believes that, or has, kicked off any discussions in terms of what type of role the federal government should play in providing guidance during an outbreak of a future infectious disease to nursing homes, and whether there should be some sort of standardized data collection so that we don't run into these issues with states providing different data at different times.
Sure. Well, it's I think there are a lot
Data,
of lessons learned
data,
from what
data.
we've gone through as a country over the last year. And as you know, New York is one of the hardest hit states in the country, and earliest states hit hard in the country, was kind of on the front lines of that, and the challenges that.
So what did we do? We crammed everybody up into
I
tiny
will
little
say
boxes
that, our focus at this point in time is on working with governors
and then gave the
from
guy an Emmy
across the country, from red states and blue states,
for the best
and
performance.
working with them to ensure we can take the steps now to increase vaccines that are being distributed to states. As yesterday, we announced another increase in that to an over 70% increase since the president took office, to increasing communication, to increasing the number of vaccination sites that are on the ground.
Marva Man says those are subsidies for large companies, but handouts for people who lost a job due to government shutdown.
And we need to keep our resources and our
Well,
focus
I've
on
never called them
saving more
handouts.
lives.
You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Going back to your earlier comment, just calling it handouts.
Was there any communications ahead of that letter?
Well, the letter was put together by a group from
we
the
don't think
outside,
they're
or a couple
handouts.
of
We think
groups,
the
I should say,
government's
from the
fucking
outside.
everybody.
Business Forward, I think, was one of them, and there were a couple of other organizations. We, of course, engage with business groups and business leaders all the time, but it was not put together. It was put together by these outside groups.
Did the White House specifically talk to any of the CEOs before they signed the letter, and to encourage them to sign the letter? I know.
We talked to all of our fortifiers
We
thoroughly.
didn't play an organizational role here. As I understand it, it was done by these outside groups. But we, of course, engage with business leaders all the time. So,
Oh, yes, we know.
I don't know that I have more specifics.
You have lots of favors to
Here
return.
at Tandon, has the White House specifically talked to Senator Bernie Sanders or Senator Kristen
Sanders
about the viability? Have they talked to them today about what's going to happen going forward?
about the viability of her nomination.
Correct.
We have been engaged. I noted yesterday, and I don't have a new number update.
What does
that
Bernie
Mayor Tandon
Mittens have
herself
to
had
say
engaged
about it?
directly with 44 senators. We've also engaged.
He's trying to
with
stay
many
the fuck
more
out of
far
the
beyond
limelight
that,
is all he's
Democrats and
trying to do.
Republicans. Some of them have been over the last 3 days. Some of them were before that. Some of them have been repeats. But we're not going to read out the individual conversations from here. Obviously, any senator can speak to our engagement from their platform if they choose to. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. We spoke yesterday about immigration and this facility, HHS facility in Carrizo Springs, Texas, for migrant children. And you said it is not kids in cages. We've seen some photos now of containers.
Kids in cages?
Is there a better description? Is it kids in containers instead of kids in cages? What is the White House's description?
What's the verbiage?
Well, let me give a broader description of
How
what's
would
happening.
you describe
We
the
have a number of
situation that kids find
unaccompanied
themselves
minors,
in?
children who are coming into
Well,
the
see,
country
it's
without
actually
their families.
plexiglass, a lot
What
like
we
you're
are
going to
not
find your
doing,
kids
what the
here
last
when they go to
administration
school.
was
So
separate
it's
those
really not
kids,
that different. It's just
rip them from the arms
a
of their
hamster
parents
ball.
at the
And
border.
anybody,
We are not doing
anybody
that.
that's
That
been
is
following this
immoral, and that is not
podcast
the approach of
realizes
this
that we are completely
These
saying
kids,
this
we have a couple of options.
as
We can
devil's
send them back
advocates
home
because we've had
and
this
do a dangerous
conversation
journey
between
back. We're not
ourselves,
doing that
like
either.
this very
That is
same
also
conversation, and we
putting them at
agree
risk.
that
We
those
can
kids should
quickly
not be
transfer
sent
them
back to
from
these
CBP
countries
to
alone.
these HHS-run
You know what I
facilities.
mean?
That's one
Like
option.
we've come
Or we
to
can
a
put
basic
them with
understanding
families
that
and
yeah,
sponsors without any
they're doing
vetting.
what they
There
have
were
to
some
do.
problems that
They could do it better.
that
You
process
know what I
ran
mean?
into as well. We've chosen the middle option.
Devil's advocate
And
is
these
you said the
HHS
kids were in
facilities,
cages.
this
What's
is one of
different
them you're
now?
referring to. We had to
We said that they
expand and open
weren't
additional
sending
facilities
unaccompanied minors
because there was
back
not
to a
enough space
fucking
in the
country by
existing
themselves.
facilities. And if we were to abide by COVID
What's
protocols,
different now?
that's the process and the step. This facility in Texas,
They're
which has
6
been
feet
reopened,
farther apart.
has been
That's the
revamped,
difference.
has been there are
we're opening more
teachers, there's medical
facilities to space them
and
out.
our objective is to move these kids quickly from there to vetted, sponsored families,
To vets.
and to places where
To
they can
vets.
safely be.
They're not
This
sending
is a
these kids
difficult
to vets.
situation. It's a difficult choice. That's the choice
They
we've
got
made.
dogs.
So just one step back from that, we've been talking to people down at the border who say that right now DHS
Right on,
and
Marlboro. I've been on unemployment
same
since last
kind of
March because of
facilities
this pandemic.
now that they did during the Trump
I'm not a
administration.
fan.
That there's a facility right now. It's in Donna, Texas, instead of McAllen, Texas, but it's tents and chain link fence.
Although I
around
think
it.
I
And
did
so
get a
A
raise with this
CBP facility
coronavirus
before they're transferred to the
relief
HHS
plan going
facility. Is
through.
that what you're referring to?
Yes, and the issue would be that just in the last couple days, they had hundreds of kids that they were holding for over 72 hours, which is the legal limit to keep somebody in a temporary facility.
These are questions that we got from
Let's be
yesterday.
clear though, because I know you want to be clear with the public about the differences. The CBP
Ooh.
facilities, which you're right, the objective is to move kids, unaccompanied minors, as quickly as possible, under 72 hours, to these HHS sponsored facilities, which is the one where we've been referring to in Texas. They are two different things. There were some delays
So
last week
ICE
because of
has
weather
3
and
days
because
to
some of
send
these
them to the
facilities
cages.
to safely move these kids to did not have power and
Is
we're
that
not
what
in a
you're telling
place
me,
where
Miss
they-
She's saying that they
had the
spend 3
capacity
days
to
in
take these
cages.
kids and do it safely.
It's only
That is
3
not our
days in
objective.
cages.
That is not our goal. So some unfortunately did stay
no,
4
she
days.
said
5 days
Unfortunately,
or
it's
longer.
not only
But
just
the
it's not
objective is to
just
move
3
them
days.
as
3
quickly
days
as
before
possible
they
to the
3 days
HHS
at the
facilities.
CPB and then get
Has
sent to
the White House seen the comment
HHS.
from
And they're
Alexandria
talking about the new
Ocasio-Cortez,
facility is the
who, speaking
HHS
about that
facility, the
HHS
cages.
facility in Carrizo Springs, said this is not
Container.
okay. Never
Container
has been
cages,
okay.
yeah.
Never will be okay.
That's
no matter
HHS.
the
Tupperware.
administration.
So
They're
they
putting
sit-
kids in Tupperware now.
I
They
think the
sit in
difficulty is I haven't seen
CPB
the full
for 3
context of
days
the
and then they get sent to
quote or
cages.
interview of the tweet
Tupperware.
that she shared.
Tupperware.
But I would say the difficulty is what
Pods.
I outlined earlier.
With
We have kids
bug
coming across the border.
squares.
It is heartbreaking. I think
Worm
we all, as
food.
human beings, are heartbroken. As parents, as
Hey,
mothers, as fathers.
you know, we're
too.
supposed to be eating the worms.
We only have a couple of choices.
We
What
got
are
like
not doing
a
is dividing these kids and
self-sustaining life
separating from
cycle
their
going
parents
here.
at the border,
We
which is
eat
what
the worms,
last
the worms eat
administration
us.
did, and why
Circle of life.
President Biden or
Wow.
then candidate Biden
Is this
and
what
then
Bill
candidate
Gates is
Harris
getting to?
were outspoken at the time about these kids being pulled from their parents. parents. What we are doing is working as quickly as possible to process these kids into these HHS facilities, which have been revamped, which have medical and educational services available, so that we can then transfer
Like
them
we
to
said,
families. That's what our
doctors
approach is.
and
So if there is this big
and
difference,
books
would
are allowed
the
in the
administration
cages.
support if it could be done,
But not English
safely because of COVID and with privacy concerns for the children in mind, would the administration support letting reporters in and press in to see what the difference is?
I think we have to talk to
Probably
the
not.
Department of Homeland Security about that. There are obviously safety protocols about
No,
that,
not at all.
privacy concerns, but I certainly encourage you to reach out about that. Go ahead
I
and
just
back.
did. You
Couple
dummy.
different Texas questions.
Sure.
About the president's visit on Friday. So the president's infrastructure plan includes a promise to, quote, modernize the nation's electric grid, making it smarter and
With
more
the help of
resilient.
China.
Making
Can that be done
the
without
electric
federal
grid
oversight of the
Chinese.
Texas grid, which we all got a reminder is not under federal oversight?
You're right, and some parts of Texas are on the federal grid, as you well know, as somebody who knows a lot about Texas. Look, I think there's going to be
Texas
a lot
is
of
real.
time
She
in the
looked it up.
future to have a
I like how she
discussion,
uses her
debate
hands
about
to
what
explain
weatherization, what preparation should
what
have been
Texas
taken in
is.
advance. We're not going to have that debate today. We're not going to have that debate on Friday. The president is going to Texas because he wants to show his support, because he wants to survey the damage on the ground, see how people are impacted, see how he can tap into additional resources in the federal government. As you know, and as I noted at the top, Texas is still in a state of emergency. There are millions of people
Texas
who are impacted.
is Texas.
You can have a policy debate later. Right now, we're going to help the people
It's
who
going
are
to be
still
80 tomorrow
suffering
in
and going
Texas,
through
guys. Don't
a
worry
really
about
challenging
Texas.
time.
Does the president consider
They're
what
fine now.
happened in Texas last week and is, we still have the after effects? Does he consider that to be a natural disaster or a man-made disaster? And how does that affect the policy?
Well, that's a good question.
Well, again, there'll be a policy discussion, and I'm sure as we look ahead to delivering on the president's Build Back Better agenda, as you know, he's been a longtime fan of infrastructure. He loves infrastructure. It's one of the things
He
that I'm
loves
sure we'll be talking about
infrastructure.
in the months
Loves
ahead.
watching videos of big trucks and
protecting
cranes.
our nation's critical
Right.
infrastructure,
I like
which
just
we all know is
looking
outdated.
at roads.
But we're not going to put new labels on it today. We're just going to focus on how we make sure people have drinking water, how people have,
What about
not in
Flint?
the
Does Flint
cold,
have drinking water?
place to live.
I like how they're
and
talking
we will
about it
have
now.
Plenty of time
Like,
to have a policy debate.
it's going to be 80 tomorrow, guys, in Texas. Things are fine in Texas now. They're just a week behind.
Ted Cruz's hometown, for instance. Any other significance?
That is not a significance. I would say that while the president is there, he wanted to also visit a place where vaccines are being distributed. So that was another
He thought he was going to get another one. They had to remind him he already got it.
Coordination, as I've noted, as we were trying to figure out the timing of the trip with experts on the ground, with our acting FEMA administrator on where it would be most appropriate to visit.
You may have sort of already addressed this, but I just want to be clear. Can we expect any sort of announcement while the president is in Texas or going to Texas? Investigations, new aid deliverables, anything?
We've been kind of reviewing every day new assistance that can be distributed, which I've been trying to read out at the top of the briefing in coordination with our acting FEMA administrator and Liz Sherwood Randall. So I don't know. It may be that there may be more because we're just trying to get as much out the door as possible. But I wouldn't expect. There's nothing that we're holding, I should say, for Friday. If that makes sense. Go ahead.
Because we ain't gonna be here on Friday. We dropping bombs shortly.
No surprises.
What's the White House view on this variant that's emerged from California, and how it might factor into your modeling on
Another
the timetable
variant.
for return to normalcy and your vaccination care?
Sure.
It's going to be
one of
like
the
the
reasons we've
fucking
been quite
cold,
careful,
the common
or I have
cold, you
tried
know,
to be about
1,000 different
predicting a return to
variants of the
normalcy
same
is
fucking
because
thing.
there are unpredictable components of the
I'm not
things
saying
that
it
come up
is.
with the virus,
I'm just
right?
saying
As we've seen with other variants, and
comparably
certainly
with
the
the
California
fucking
variant is an
mutations,
example
you know.
of that. The reporting on this
Mhm.
is quite new, as you know, and our health and medical experts will, of course, take a close look at it and make some evaluations about what they foresee the impact as being. So I would certainly defer to them on that perspective, and send you to them to ask any health questions.
And has the president been briefed specifically on the California variant, and is he concerned, alarmed?
The president is briefed regularly on COVID. He asks questions about COVID and updates, and I would not be
asks
surprised if he
questions.
had not asked
Give
this
him
morning. I was not in
answers.
any policy meetings
He
with him
has a
this
little
morning,
note
so
in
I
his
don't have any
top
update on his
pocket.
briefings.
So, from my colleagues outside the room, I actually received several different questions.
Sure, go ahead.
On some of the Saudi call with the Saudi King Salman, as well as the Khashoggi report. And I know you've addressed this, but is it important for the president to speak with the king in the context of the release of the report?
I'm not going to preview his call with the king. Obviously, they'll cover a range of topics. And when we
The king
concluded that call, I'm sure we'll provide a
He
readout
said,
to all of you.
"Hey, about Khashoggi and your son." He's like, "Yeah, he did it."
Sure. We were told that Senator Sanders wasn't
It's like, "Oh,
consulted
okay."
at all before
Just
you
asking.
guys announced her nomination, and I just wanted to ask, why didn't Sanders get a heads up on it?
We consult, I mean, the process, and having worked on the confirmations team, I can give you a little insight onto this. The process during the transition of nominees being selected, there often was consultation with a limited number of members. It typically wasn't very broad in advance of a selection. Obviously, the president selects people he's going to nominate for positions. And then oftentimes the
Does he?
immediate follow-up
Or
to
they
an
hand it to him?
announcement is
No.
immediate outreach from the nominees to a range of senators and a range of officials in Congress. So that's a normal part of the process.
Budget though, so was there any reason why he wasn't given a heads up?
Again, I don't think I can speak to, her announcement or who was or wasn't consulted in the days ahead from several months ago. But Senator Sanders is someone who we consult with regularly at many levels, including at the president's level, and expect we'll work with him on confirmations, but also a range of the president's objectives.
Sure. I'm sure he was
Some
expecting
House
one of
and
those
Senate
positions.
Democrats have raised the possibility of putting a pathway for undocumented essential workers into a second reconciliation package. Pelosi even said it would be wonderful if it could fit. Does the president
If it could
support that
fit.
option?
Like there's only a
I'm
certain
sure
amount
he'll
of
have
room for these
discussions and
bailout
consultations
packages
with
now.
Speaker
Just
Pelosi,
the
as he
tip,
does
just
frequently,
for a
and
second.
others about
Yep.
how they want to move the path forward on immigration. And he proposed the comprehensive bill with several components because he thinks they all are pivotal.
Pivot.
We haven't had any
Pivot.
extensive conversations on that yet, so I don't have anything to read out for you.
Second reconciliation or
Say it again.
reconciliation, you haven't had.
No, we'll see. We'll let Congress play out the process of what they want to propose or how they want to work through the components of
You
the
ain't
immigration
using
package.
Congress.
He's proposed
Quit
it
lying.
as a full multi-step
You haven't used
comprehensive
Congress once yet.
package because he feels that smart security, a pathway to citizenship, and addressing the root causes are all pivotal. But we
Pivot.
expect this to be an ongoing conversation about different components of what members support.
And then if I could just one more, I mean, as you know, the UI benefits expire March 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a backup plan if the COVID package doesn't pass Congress by that time?
Well, let me
By
first say
March
that,
15th,
that
huh?
the president is focused on moving this forward as quickly as possible because, as you noted, there is a timeline in the middle of March.
Because,
when
as you
millions of
noted,
people
flips
would
pages.
lose their benefits, and it's not everybody on that day, and there's a
Marva
progression of
says
it.
it costs
but
more to
that is of
babysit them
great
in
concern,
cages than to
and that
just
is
let
one of
the
the
family
reasons
in the
why there
U.S.
is
and just work
significant
for their needs
urgency
and
in
work to
moving this
become
forward as
citizens.
quickly as possible. And as you also know,
Well,
covering
what
Congress,
they're
you know,
talking
a
about
backup
right now
plan,
is
most
unaccompanied
scenarios would
minors,
involve Congress. This is
meaning
the best
children that
pathway
showed
to
up at the
preventing,
border without their
millions of people
family.
from losing
Or
their benefits, and that's why we are
anybody
hopeful
showed up
that it will
alone.
move quickly through the House, as we
So
anticipate it
you
will,
can't
and then
really
quickly
just
through the Senate, and we'll
let
be able to
a minor
get the
into the
rescue plan
country
signed into
alone,
law.
and you
So
can't really
that is
just
not
send
an
them
issue.
back to the country
Here-
they came from alone.
Here's an apple, kid. Good luck.
On Iran, the
Here's
president
$5.
opted for diplomacy.
And the
Might I
camera.
recommend California, where they do American Idol. Hope you can sing, kid.
Might I recommend Portland? I heard you could just shit on the street there.
To the nuclear fund. Can you assure us that actually this is the case? And second,
Spend
do
so
you
much
believe
money
that
to send
Iran
back the
is testing your
traffickers they want
resolve
sent
in
back to
Iraq
return
by
with more
attacking
drugs.
the green
The ones they
zones
want to
and
stay would work, in my opinion.
airport recently?
Well, first, on the first question, can you just say the last part of it again? You were saying, I'm sorry, masks make it difficult.
Are you guys gonna
Oh,
link
masks
the
make it
ballistic
difficult to
missiles
talk now.
development
You heard it
and
here
Iran's
first.
interference in for Arab countries to the nuclear file, or are you going to leave it separately? Because there are worries that actually you're very eager to secure a deal and you're going to leave this behind. Like
Yeah,
it
the big
happened
thing about the cages is that
Well, first, the president's
the only thing that
runs
has
a long way
changed
from
from
compliance,
Trump to
as you all
Biden
know,
is
covering
more
this issue
cages.
quite closely. And the president has
Like
been clear
literally, that's the
that
only thing that's
if Iran
changed.
comes back into full compliance with
And
its obligations, we will
there's
do
not an
the same.
uproar.
And of course, then
AOC
use that
isn't
as a
taking
platform
pictures
to
next to a
build
parking lot
longer and
fence this
stronger
time.
agreement. including addressing ballistic missiles and many of the concerns that, as you noted, countries in the region, our European partners have about the actions of Iran. But we are not at that point. The point we are at is that the United States has expressed an openness to an invitation to have a diplomatic conversation. That's the stage we are at. As you know, we have not taken any steps to roll
Syria,
back
Turkey,
sanctions or to
Iran,
provide, I
in
should say,
that order.
sanctions relief as has been requested. And we are in a
All
place where we're waiting to see
coming
if
to a
Iran
theater
will,
near you.
what their response will be to the Europeans' invitation.
So why are you not responding to the attacks in Iraq and elsewhere?
The attacks in Iran, the attacks in Iraq, I should say. Well, first, we have not made a final attribution of the attacks.
She keeps going out of her way to say, we don't know who attacked us yet.
Last night, this was an extensive part of the conversation.
Got
We do
18
hold
fucking
Iran
intelligence
accountable for
services.
the actions of their proxies. And of course, we reserve the right to respond in a manner and at a time of our choosing. But we will respond in a way that's calculated on our
Meaning
timetable and using a
we'll
mix of tools seen and
drone
unseen.
strike them
What we will
in
not do, and what
Syria.
we've seen in the past, is lash out and risk an escalation that plays into the hands of Iran by further destabilizing Iraq. And that is our priority.
And if I may, on Yemen, since you unlist the Houthis as a terrorist organization, do you believe that the humanitarian situation has improved, considering that now they are trying to take Ma'rib, which is a big city, and some say that they've been emboldened by lifting them from the terror list?
Yes, and as you know, our issue has never been with the people of Yemen, right? And certainly the humanitarian situation has been a long time concern. I don't have an assessment of the humanitarian situation on the ground. The State Department is likely going to have the best assessment of that, but I can also talk to them, or you can, of course, reach out to them directly.
Why haven't you talked to them?
Go ahead in the back.
Saki?
Hi, thanks, Jen. I have two quick questions, if you don't mind. The first on voting rights. We're seeing
Marvin
several
Man
states
says
consider bills to
there's so many
restrict
families that would take them in that can't
restrict
have
voting.
children. Maybe use
Is the
that for some of the
administration willing to
kids.
work with
That's
Congress
a
to
tough
pass
one. No right
legislation
answer.
to
Once
expand
again.
access to voting?
Certainly expanding access to
Yeah,
voting,
like
making it
like
easier for
fosters
people to
or
vote
adoption.
is a priority
But
of the presidents, a priority
like you
of the
said,
vice
no right
presidents,
answer.
and we're happy to have that conversation.
Ways would you be willing to do so?
That's not exactly the truth either. I've spent some time in orphanages, and unless the kids are younger than 6, I don't think there's too many unaccompanied infants coming over the border. It
Yeah.
doesn't really work that way. You might see some fucking pedos looking to get their hands on some of these kids, though, or maybe some people that need some labor.
A full look
That's,
at all
I
the
was
different pieces
I
of
was literally
legislation.
going to say that
I'm
you
having
might
to
have
talk to
a
Ambassador Rice,
certain
who's
insight on that
points on this,
subject,
and I expect we'll have
but
more
I
to
didn't
say on
want to
voting
get
rights
into
soon.
a
But let me
conversation if we only got 10 minutes. You know what I
And
mean?
then shifting gears, I know
I
that
didn't
you
want
have
to cut you
talked
short
about
on anything.
supporting a study of reparations, but on another
Yeah,
note, you talked about
the kids in
impact that
institutions is
COVID
not
has
the
had on
answer
Black
and does not
community,
benefit the
whether
kids
it's
nor the
in those job
institutions.
losses. Is the administration considering
That's
some
definitely not the
targeted
answer.
relief for Black communities or communities that have been hit hard? That may not be reparations, but maybe job training or something to help communities build back from this pandemic, specifically
I guess
for
the
communities
answer
that
would
have been
be
hit hard, such as Black communities.
the path
Sure,
with
let me
the
first
least.
say that the American Rescue Plan
I was
is the package
I was
that
scrolling
we
on
hope will
Facebook.
have signed
Actually, I
into
wasn't even
law
scrolling.
soon
My
that is
fiance was
going to
scrolling
provide
on
relief
Facebook
that is
and
targeted
saw
at the
a
communities
class
and the
action
people and the
lawsuit
families who have
for
been hardest hit,
the main
from direct
campus where I
checks and
spent most
payments
of
to
my
more money
time
for
in this in
vaccinations to get them out
as
to
a ward
communities
of the
that have been
state
harder hit,
for
to the reopening of schools that is certainly
abuse
impacting
allegations
many
where I was living.
including Black communities.
Like it's
Beyond that,
mm-mm.
obviously the president
putting these
will consider a
institutionalizing
range
these
of
kids.
options, things that he talked about on the campaign
I'm good.
trail
I'm
to
good on
build the
that.
economy
Yep.
back better.
There's
That's
gotta be
not
better
anything we
ways.
have to preview or that's been finalized at this point in time. But our objective right now is to get the American Rescue Plan passed and to get that direct relief out to a range of
They're doing
And
something,
I understand
but they're
$1,400
not doing enough.
checks are
You
one
know?
thing, but I guess down the road, helping communities, people that have lost their jobs, training them for these jobs of the future. Is that something?
Again,
Barbara
job
says he
retraining,
agrees
helping the
100% on
manufacturing
that.
sector, doing better with caregiving, improving our nation's infrastructure. These are all components of the president's agenda that he talked about on the campaign trail, and is certainly a
Yeah, we're
blueprint
gonna
for
we're
what he
gonna
would
circle
like
back
to
to
do
that
as
campaign
president.
trail
But
and
right
the things
now,
that he
we're just
talked about
focused on the
pretty soon.
rescue
I
plan,
think.
getting it passed, getting it through, getting that direct relief out, and then I expect we'll have more to say. He will have more to say after that is concluded.
Go ahead, Kristen. I'd like to ask you one on the minimum wage.
Sure.
One of the points.
Yeah, not just that, Marble Man, but bad people that bring the kids here in the first place that are trying to claim them as their children when they're not. That happens way more often than people want to realize.
The president put $15 minimum wage, an increase in his package, because that's what he believes the increase should be. As you know, is working its way through a parliamentary
She doesn't even do
process
good at
this point in
circling back
time.
anymore.
Hopefully we'll
Like
have
she
more
doesn't have
news
the
on
answers
that,
to the
in the
questions she
coming
didn't have the
days.
answers to yesterday.
But his support is for the $15 increase.
Senator Sanders has said there's no room for compromise. Does the president think there's room for compromise on that $15?
Well, the compromise will be between members of the Senate who may have disagreement on where the minimum
Tough
wage
subject.
should sit,
Glad
what
I
the
just get
process
to have
should
an
be.
opinion and not
But the
responsible
first
for the
step
answer.
is the Byrd
Exactly.
rule.
But that's
Byrd
exactly
Act. I
why
just
we
like to
talk
say that
about
every
it the
day.
way we do, is
And
because
then,
it
members
is a tough
will, and we're
subject,
certainly hopeful
and
that will
doing
conclude with the
nothing
minimum wage
isn't
being
the
included in there,
answer.
but that is up to the
You know what I mean?
parliamentarian for that
There's
process to
reasons
conclude,
why
and then
the
senators
kids
will
are
have to
in
debate what
cages
the
in the
final
first
package
place, and if you don't try to figure out that reason, then you're doing a disservice to the kid by arguing for something.
Yeah,
you
not.
understand.
You're not, by letting these kids out of the cages. You're not stopping the problem at all. You know, there's going to be more kids in cages unless the cause of the problem
That's a
is
very interesting
addressed.
question. I have not
Yep.
spoken with him about that, or to Secretary Austin about that, who any decision like that would be in
If only
consultation
there
and at
was
his recommendation. I'm happy to follow up with it
a
on it, or
wall.
I would suggest you talk to
And also,
my old friend John
I
Kirby about
suggest
where they stand on
anybody
that.
that frowns on our immigration policy to try to get into China illegally and see how that goes for you.
Yeah.
Or Israel.
And let alone the fact that we take in
On a wording, if the president would
1
basically
million
decide
immigrants
whatever comes
or
out of
refugees. We've taken 1 million refugees every single year, which is like twice as much as the next closest country. Like we do our
That is not
part
my
as a
implication. I hope
country.
that's not what other
We
people
do
took from what I
more than
said,
our fair
but
share. You
what
know
I was
what I mean?
conveying is that there's a process that this has to undergo, and it needs
And
to
not
move
just
through
from the,
Senate
the
parliamentary
people that were
process.
born on
We don't
land
even know
attached
where
to
they're going
us.
to conclude and
Yeah.
whether the minimum
Yeah.
wage is in
Not
the
just
package
because
or
of
not
proximity.
in the package. And certainly, and I'll leave the analysis to all of you, there would be many who would support it not being in the package,
like
and there
that
would
one,
be many
Sharon?
who would
Having
oppose
fun?
it not being in the package. We understand that. We know how a bill becomes a law. What I'm conveying is we're not going to get ahead of that process, and that
You're not saying the president won't.
I'm also glad I'm not responsible for the answer though, because that
I
is
think we are not
a
even at the stage.
serious
The president
issue.
proposed an increase in the minimum wage in his
I mean,
package. That's what he wants to be in the final package.
Sadly,
He also
I
was in the
mean,
Senate for 30
We're
days
all
this
kind
year,
of
has
responsible for it
respect for
though.
the
And
parliamentary process.
I mean, the answer is probably one that nobody really wants to hear is one world government, because
South Korea
until
is
it's,
working with
until
Iran
it's
to
as good
possibly unfreeze
as it is in
$7
America,
billion
around the world in these third
Iranian
world
money,
countries,
but
they
would
are
need a
going to
waiver
keep
from
doing
the
anything
US
at all
State
costs to
Department.
get
Is that
here.
something that the
So the
administration
answer is really
considers?
to make the
I
world
have
a
not
better
seen those
place.
reports. I'm happy to follow
Yep.
up with our team at the State Department, but it would probably be more direct if you follow up with them directly.
Okay, and
would it
one
be better
more
in that
on
case to
vaccines.
just empower
What's the
them
White
to
House
do it
think
where
when they
they're
see
at to
a
begin
governor
with?
like the Democratic governor of Connecticut, Ned Lamont, who says he thinks,
You would think so.
if he
A
goes
la
his own way,
sending
not with the national recommendations to
Afghanistan
distribute
weapons
vaccines
to
just
fight
based
Russia.
on AIDS, then he can get them out
And
faster
maybe
and more
suggesting some
equitably
trickle down economics.
than
Just send them a couple truckloads of
recommendations
money
from the
and hope it trickles down to the deplorables.
Yeah, they just upgraded
recommendations
the
at the federal level for a reason,
jets full of
because there
money
are
instead of
groups that we
fucking
feel should be
UPS trucks.
prioritized, whether they're frontline workers, healthcare workers, individuals over a certain age, as you noted. And our objective, of course, is to get to the stage where there's recommendations for people who are much younger, who don't have health conditions that would mean they would qualify. So that's the reason we lay them out as we do. Obviously, governors make different choices about the prioritization and the prioritization
Oh,
order.
now it's the governors,
but we
huh?
stand by the guidelines we've recommended at a national level.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
When I say things like that, it's not to, it's just to point out the contradiction. It's not because I don't agree that governors have ultimate say over their states. It's just that when there was a recently unreelected former president it was a whole different story with the same exact circumstances.
Well, just like how now Biden is in control of the military.
Yep. And he is controlling the military.
Oh, unfortunately, I got to wrap this thing up soon.
Right on. What's this I'm hearing about a missile strike? I haven't tried to see what it's all about. Biden missile strike Syria yesterday.
36 days into his presidency, he is dropping bombs.
Killing little brown babies in the Middle East because brown babies in South America are more
creating enemies for generations. Just made your grandkids a new enemy.
Yep. Appreciate you sharing. Thanks for coming through once again. You're the real MVP.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good weekend. Stay positive. Stay plugged.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.